Sports Talk coming to you on a Thursday. Thank you so much for stopping by and joining us. Jake LaValle, Brendan Brzezinski, Dave Lucero with you. As we've got Chiefs and Bills to break down today. We are also going to hear from Matt Nagy. We're going to hear from Steve Spagnuolo. Get an update on Isaiah Pacheco. How nervous are the Chiefs and you, a Chief fan, that Pacheco not going to go coming up on Sunday? We will get to that as well. We're going to talk about a big giant issue that happened at about 6:30 last night, about 6:45 actually. We'll get to plenty of that. We'll have a little either or over under. We'll get Paul Myerberg's thoughts on all things college football, the transfer portal, the playoffs, all of that. That will be coming up today here on 580 Sports Talk. So give us your take. Send us a text, a tweet, a comment. The text line, 785-272-9429. Also, you can check us out on YouTube. Go to youtube.com. Type in 580 Sports Talk. Click on the link, the image, if you will. Go to our page and then subscribe, and you can interact with us. So it's very, very simple to chat with us. And K-State fans, I want to know how are things going right now? How are you feeling? Because last night was something that I will give credit to the K-State decision makers. They made a decision. They did. But I'd like to know how they got there. And right now, what is occurring is a lot of secrecy and no answers to a lot of questions that your entire alumni base and fan base have right now. At about 6:45 yesterday, we got a statement from Director of Athletics, Gene Taylor. And this is what it said. We've heard the concerns and the questions from K-State fans and friends around Nae'Qwan Tomlin's indefinite suspension from the basketball team. Situations like this are difficult, and we know you want answers. But federal privacy laws largely prohibit the University and Kansas State athletics from publicly discussing specific information around circumstances like this. Those laws are in place to protect our student athletes, and more specifically, an instance to protect Nae'Qwan as he is working through a process designed to support him, to lift him out of a difficult time. Allowing for that space and time is critical, but in today's digital age, unfortunately, that could lead to the spread of rumors and misinformation. In this case, much of the information on social media is incorrect. I have been monitoring the situation and overseeing Nae'Qwan's suspension with Coach Tang's involvement. While we cannot share specifics to what have led to this outcome due to the reasons stated above, K-State athletics now share that Nae'Qwan Tomlin will no longer be able to continue that with the K-State men's basketball team. This decision was not made lightly by me, but the decision warranted by the circumstances that brought it to bear. We appreciate your passion for our men's basketball team. This will be the only comment that K-State athletics will release. So Nae'Qwan Tomlin got kicked off the team. Some people said, well, no, Jake, he got dismissed. No, he got kicked off the team. He got kicked off the team.
Yeah, well, 6 one way, half a dozen the other.
He got kicked off the team.
He was suspended, and now he is kicked off the team.
Kicked off the team. So I look at this, and the first thing that I can't stand in all of this is the secrecy stuff. Everything is public. The arrest report is public. What are you trying to hide right now? I can't stand the secrecy stuff. Tell us why you did it. We kicked him off the team because he got arrested and we have a zero tolerance policy. Or we didn't like what occurred. It is all subjective and we are going to do this. I hate the secrecy stuff. That bothers me so much.
More than anything, the explanation that I'm looking for, I'm hoping for, and apparently we're not going to get it, is why was this a university issue and not an athletic department issue?
There's no answer. The only answer they give is we can't say anything because of privacy laws, which now he's not a student athlete anymore. So we can find that out actually. Or The privacy laws are no longer intact.
Well, never mind that. He graduates this weekend. He's not going to be a student anymore.
Yeah.
His obligations to Kansas State University as a student athlete are now
and the handbook
complete.
and all that.
And as a student, he will no longer be a student. So at that point, do then we get to know a little bit more? I mean, we aren't entitled to everything. That's like, we always think we're entitled to every last piece of information. And we may have to accept over the long haul that there's just something we're not going to hear or not going to know. But that leads to frustration, and frustration leads to anger, and anger leads to what was, over the preceding 24 hours, an outpouring of support for Nae'Qwan Tomlin and desire for him to return to the team. And what I still can't square, is
sorry, Jake and I both just got distracted at the same time. The Washburn women just scored the first goal of their national semifinal match against the Delphi with 34 and a half minutes left.
Hey, good for the Washburn women. They're a second half team. That bunch.
So, sorry about that.
No
I
worries.
got really excited. Sorry.
I thought
Go by. Go by.
All right.
Yeah.
Thought there was breaking news. Anyhow,
There is. Washburn
that is. I mean, no, that is.
Away from playing
I
for
thought there was
national
breaking
title.
news germane to this. You guys would be terrible poker players. I'd take all your money.
Oh, I know that for sure.
Oh man.
Yeah, there's no question about that.
This is what I can't square with the Nae'Qwan Tomlin situation. That something occurred that is bad enough that the punishment for it is he can't play basketball at K-State anymore. He can continue to be a student. We're going to get him to graduation, but he can't play for us anymore because of X incident or X thing or a collection of things that have happened that made it untenable for Nae'Qwan Tomlin to play basketball at Kansas State University anymore. I can't square that truth because that is what has happened. He can't play at K-State anymore. He's not going to play. He will never put that uniform on again.
Mm-hmm.
I can't square that with him being on the bench with his teammates for the Villanova game and for some previous home games, for him being around the team, for Jerome Tang to talk about his suspension. Now, he was referring to it as early as the start of the season as like a season-ending injury.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we may not get him back. And if we get him back, I think it was John Rothstein that he told, if we get him back, it's a bonus. It's a bonus if we get Nae'Qwan Tomlin back at any point this season. So clearly Jerome Tang saw this as a possible outcome.
And there was a report that said, hey, Nae'Qwan, it was one of either Rothstein or Goodman or somebody was like, the Wildcats could get back Nae'Qwan Tomlin soon.
Yeah, that might have been Rothstein. It was one of the two of them. Sometimes I get the two confused. But if, again, this is something that is so heinous, so unforgivable, that the ultimate punishment is he can't play anymore, why is he still affiliated with the team? And you can say, like, and I said this on Twitter, and somebody said, well, he wasn't affiliated with the team. He was suspended. He couldn't play. He was on the roster. He was on the program roster. He was on, you go to the website. He was on the roster. He's on the bench. They won't let you sit on the bench if you're not affiliated with the team. You want proof? Go try it yourself. Go put on a K-State pullover and go sit at the end of the bench next to the walk-ons and see how far that gets you. That's for team personnel. He was affiliated enough with the team that Jerome Tang felt comfortable associating him with the team. And when you don't know information, you have to give the benefit of the doubt. The benefit of your doubt is extended in one direction or another. I am comfortable, 100% comfortable, extending benefit of the doubt to Jerome Tang. That Jerome Tang, because of the man of character I believe him to be, would not have allowed Nae'Qwan Tomlin to continue his association with K-State basketball for even a second after something happened that was, again, so unforgivable that the end result was always going to be he can't play anymore.
The things that just blow my mind is the event happened in October. It is now December. Once the event happened involving Nae'Qwan Tomlin at a bar, we know the arrest report. We know it was in there. We know about the diversion. We know all of that. we know Jerome Tang had him on the bench. I mean, he was celebrating with his team in the crowd with his team, okay? But then the next day is when you go, nope, he's gone. Like, what occurred from the Villanova game until last night at 6:00 that something you knew the information, what information had come about from October, maybe first of all, you can see it in the police report, you can see it in the diversion, that is all public. So that to me is not warranted a dismissal from the team. What he did, that's not. It isn't.
What he was charged for, what is collected in the police report from video evidence, from eyewitness evidence, eyewitness accounts, video accounts of what occurred when he was arrested in Aggieville, they don't include details that would suggest that this is, again, the kind of thing you kick a kid off the team for.
So is there something that K-State knows that the cops don't know that we don't know? Like, that's the only, that when it really boils down to it, that is all I can get from this entire situation is K-State upper management, and we're going to get to upper management here, knows something that is so damning involving Nae'Qwan Tomlin that they can't risk that getting out. But Jerome Tang is willing to risk it because he was still on the team. That is it. That is all that makes sense, because everything that they have done and said, their actions do not equal what is happening. It doesn't. Because if all we know right now, all we know is that arrest report and the diversion.
And there was also the eligibility issue going into the season. There was contact, allegedly. None of this is like broadly confirmed, but this is widely understood or rumored that there was some contact between Tomlin and an agent that may have created an eligibility issue.
Well, then you can easily say
but if
that.
Eligibility were the problem, we would know,
then
right?
Say that.
And again, why
does
that fall on Richard Linton? And based on what we heard yesterday from Tim Fitzgerald, which, by the way, you can go check that out on our podcast page on our website or on YouTube. From what we've heard from him, from what we have seen or heard from other K-State media or personalities, people that cover the team or are near the team, there really isn't a reason for this to fall on Richard Linton. So if there's no reason that this should have been handled outside of the athletic department, again, I'll repeat, why was it handled outside the athletic department? And I just don't know what this does. How does this benefit K-State? Unless there is some sort of heinous other misdoing other than what has been reported. And based on what I understand to be true, what I have been told, that doesn't exist. So unless I got bad info and a dozen other people have all gotten bad info, what could have possibly happened that would have negatively impacted Kansas State University to the point where the university president had to step in? And to be honest, again, based on what I know and what I feel about this, nothing. There's no reason for that individual to be involved in this decision-making process.
And that's the reason why there are so many frustrated K-State fans right now, because it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up with the decision to remove him from the basketball team 2 months after it occurred, unless new information has been released, and they're hiding behind the secrecy of it when it comes to that. If this is the case, and all we know, because when it comes to these type of things, it's black and white, right? Right now, K-State has now set a precedent that if you get arrested, you're kicked off the team. Okay, if that's what you want to do, Richard Linton, then that's what you want to do. All right? Because what if, and Fitz brought up, what if Will Howard got arrested? Is he kicked off the team? If Avery Johnson gets arrested, is he kicked off the team? Like, that's the problem I have with this entire thing, is that there is zero accountability and there is zero transparency. How many times is it in your life that you hide something and it works out for you. Very rarely. Very rarely. Most of the time, and I try to tell this to
It comes out.
I try to tell my son this. Hey, did you color on the wall? Yes, Dad, I did. Why'd you do that? Well, I don't know. Are you sorry? Yes, I am. That's better than me coming out and finding that you colored on the wall and you lied and you hid it, okay? And this is what it feels like. It feels like that Richard Linton, and we're going to get to the statement by Gene Taylor in just a second. You are handling this so poorly.
Because
poorly.
It does feel like something is hidden,
Yes.
right? There is something that we don't know. And then what at this point would be Kansas State or Jerome Tang or Gene Taylor's motive to hide if there's something that Nae'Qwan Tomlin did that made him...
He's an adult. Say it.
But it's good. But yeah, if it's something that they can't have in their program, but now there's already reports that once he graduates at semester, which is, again, this weekend, he's going to be eligible to play this year as a grad transfer if he wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And there are schools reportedly that are interested in bringing him into their program. Why then would Kansas State not say, hey, this is why he can't be part of our program? This is why he can get a diploma from here, but he can't be part of our program for this reason.
And if you are a K-State athlete, I think you have the right to know, okay, what's off limits and what isn't off limits. What's going to keep what is like?
What's strike three?
I need to know. And the one thing about this whole entire thing that again makes it so confusing. This statement from Gene Taylor feels like a statement not from Gene Taylor. We have had Gene Taylor on the show a bunch. We talked to him during the year a couple times. When you see him, you run into him. This is not a Gene Taylor statement. This is a statement from a PR at the university level, not a Gene Taylor statement. Gene Taylor, to me, is a good AD. He's done a nice job. He's very transparent.
I think he's great at his job.
Very open with all of us. This is not that. I have never heard Gene Taylor talk about the privacy issues of discuss specific information. Never heard any of that stuff from Gene Taylor. This does not feel like Gene Taylor. And this is more so, I think, and this is just an opinion here, that he was told to do this. Right now, the people who K-State fans trust, prior to all of this, prior to any of this happening, people trusted Gene Taylor. People trusted Jerome Tang. Don't really think there was a whole lot of trust in Richard Linton. And now Gene Taylor doesn't say absolutely anything when it comes to this. And now Gene Taylor says this. This feels like, hey, blink twice if you're held underneath, your own will.
Hold up. Send a picture with today's newspaper.
Like that's what also makes this interesting, because this is not what Gene Taylor does. It isn't. And this is all that's going to be that just seems a little bit
it's hard to make A plus B equals C.
Yeah, it doesn't pass the smell test, right? Like, oh, it says here, like your milk, right? Oh, the date says it's good. Something don't smell right here.
Mm-hmm.
Something doesn't smell right. And K-State fans are not idiots. They know that. So K-State right now has the next couple of months, and honestly, to be honest with you, at the end of the basketball season will be interesting. At the end of the basketball season will be interesting.
You asked for some input. We have some from the text line from the 785. A K-State fan feeling like President Linton needs to step up to the mic, answer some questions, can't hide behind privacy laws entirely. It would behoove him to show that he and Coach Tang and Gene Taylor are united. His job depends on it. I also believe that if courts allowed Tomlin a diversion, it surely wasn't a bad enough offense to kick him off the team. We're supposed to be helping young men to grow up, not throwing them to the wolves.
The last part of the statement, and I guess this isn't really part of the Gene Taylor quote about this will be the only comment that will be issued from Kansas State and K-State athletics. That in and of itself should throw up a red flag immediately that people are on campus protesting about this, all the media that covers our programs in school are talking about this. Fans and alumni and donors are talking about all of this. And we're just going to shut it down.
Yep.
And we're just not going to bring it up.
That's really good. What's really helpful is when a whole bunch of your alumni base and donors and players and coaches have questions and you're not transparent.
And current students.
And you're not transparent about it. Because that solves everything.
Because I said so is a good enough answer for your 3-year-olds, Jake. That's not.
And I try not even to do that with my 3-year-old.
Yeah, but that's not a good enough answer for like adults. Like, talk to us like adults. Tell us we're all capable of understanding like the decision that was made. If it is a zero tolerance, you got arrested, you can't play for K-State anymore. Okay, if those are Jerome Tang's rules, then those are his rules.
Or those are President Richard Litton's rules. Whoever, just be honest. It ain't hard. We'll get a quick timeout. We're going to find out where we think Nae'Qwan Tomlin should end up going. So now the question becomes, where does Nae'Qwan Tomlin go? And what school is going to say, yeah, we can have him on our basketball team and we are okay with it? And it would be nice if that school can be like, yeah, we think this is what occurred. It would be nice if Nae'Qwan Tomlin would just say what went down. But I don't think he's going to.
No, I would doubt it.
And hey, we're still at a point. It may not flatter him. It may not be good for him to say exactly what happened.
And the other thing, too, is if there is a legit reason, say it. And then your fans will be like, look, I get it. I get it. Or, no, I don't get it, but at least I know where the line is. So if I'm Nae'Qwan Tomlin, I go somewhere where I think I can be the dude. You got to go somewhere where you're going to get 30 minutes a game and you're going to get 15 shots a game. Because his goal is to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
Find whatever institute. Now, I don't think, judging by how this has all went down, I don't think he's got beef with Jerome Tang.
I can't imagine he would.
Because if he would, he probably wouldn't be sitting courtside and smiling and all that kind of stuff. I think him and Tang are on the same page. So I don't see Nae'Qwan Tomlin going to a Big 12 school. Because I don't think he wants to do that to Jerome Tang. Because my gut tells me that Tang had to say to Nae'Qwan Tomlin, hey, you're not going to be on the team anymore. This was not my decision, by the way. But I still love you. I don't think he'd do that to Jerome Tang. I don't.
I think in a vacuum, I agree with you. I think that the context of the situation, the fact that Tang, from what we can tell, stood by him throughout the whole thing. As far as we know, Gene Taylor stood by him through the whole thing. I agree with you on that. The only apprehension I have for a full agreement is everything sounds hunky-dory until you get handed a check. And I'm not saying Nae'Qwan Tomlin's only in it for money. I don't know the guy personally. But if you have a program coming after you that's got deep pockets, or at least a sound NIL collective, maybe that changes. The school that has been brought up is KU. I don't know if that makes sense. That's one.
See, it doesn't make sense in
terms of playing time, it might not, because he'd be a bench guy.
Yeah.
But I'll give you another one. This one came up today from the folks over at Burner Ball, who are a couple anonymous college basketball insiders, but they're really good at what they do. They're at another Big 12 school. They're at West Virginia. You know who could use literally anyone who can play basketball right now? West Virginia, because holy cow, they are terrible. Yeah, they are awful.
I mean, they got hosed with the whole Raekwon battle thing.
They did.
That's a bummer.
The Big East makes a lot of sense too. I mean, Tomlin being a New York guy, like a program like Georgetown or Seton Hall, somebody up in the Northeast that maybe could use a go-to guy or a
Villanova. Villanova could use him. He's a 6'10", and the one thing about Tomlin is he's new to basketball, relative to everybody else. But to me, if he can shoot the three, last year he did not shoot the three well. If you're 6'10" and can shoot the three, you got options.
That's the biggest bummer for Nae'Qwan in all of this, and I still feel like, again, knowing what we know, I still feel like Nae'Qwan Tomlin is getting shafted here. And the worst part of it is because he is so relatively inexperienced for someone where he's at, but he's got NBA potential. Like you listen to people who know basketball, know the game, talk about Nae'Qwan Tomlin. They were talking about him last year. This is a guy who can make the league. Well, he's got to play basketball. Yeah. Like, it's not going to do him any good to lock himself in the gym and do train until the NBA draft. No, he's got to go play in games. That's what's going to benefit him if that is to be his future. And he's lost a semester from what we could tell, not really a great reason.
And last thing we'll get here, he can play. Because he'll graduate next week.
Yeah.
Once the semester's over, you can play in between semesters.
There'll be a grad transfer.
We're talking about he could play in a week. He could play in 10 days. He could play in 10 days.
One last question for you, because I know we got to get to Paul. You worried about Tang?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know how you couldn't be, honestly, because you empowered him by giving him the program and hyping him up publicly and giving him a contract extension and putting all your support behind him. And then when push came to shove, you took it all away from him. Like that. I'm not saying he should leave. I hope he stays at K-State. I'm just saying I would not feel good in that position if I was him.
It all depends on how he views it. If he feels like or if he says, you know what, that's what my boss says, I'm going to move forward. But if he's like, nah, man, why are you doing this?
Why are you taking my job from me?
There is a lot of alarm on K-State Twitter or the message boards or amongst K-State fans. There's a lot of alarm about this being a line that can't be a box that can't be unchecked when it comes to Tang's relationship with the university. And oh my God, what if he leaves? And oh my God, what if Gene Taylor leaves? And oh my God, then what if Chris Kleiman leaves? And then what happens to our athletic department if we lose these three great representatives of the department who have these programs and the department as a whole moving in the right direction? You don't have any control over that, which is why it's so scary from a fan perspective to say that we have no control over what's going to happen. Here's the one thing you can do, though, if you're a K-State fan: get to Bramlage and show your love to those kids who are on the court. Show your love to that head coach. Show them why Kansas State is a special place to you. And hopefully they will find it to be a special enough place that this is toothpaste that can be put back into the tube.
Coming up next, we'll talk all things college football with Paul Myerberg. Talking all things Big 12 football on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline is Paul Myerberg, our Big 12 insider. You can follow him on Twitter at Paul Myerberg, USA Today, one of the best to do it. All right, Paul, there's a lot of layers to what went down on Sunday. One, to me, the difference of the committee is most deserving versus the best. But also, you have to combine with what has the committee always done? Have they always done the best, or have they always done the most deserving and the resume aspect? So I ask you, Paul, how do you view what went down on Sunday?
Yeah, guys, I see the controversy. I understand the controversy. I want to be the kind of guy who always roots for the underdog and wants there to be some sort of respect given to 13-0. I get all that. What I don't understand is why everyone's saying that there was no right decision. I see this in a sense that there was no wrong decision that you could make here. You had 3 teams for 2 spots, and all 3 of them were deserving. I understand 1 team got left out, but like you said, the argument comes down to this. Like, do you want to have a 14 field that reflects what you believe these teams achieved during the regular season based off their record, based off their conference championships? But I think there's an aspect of the playoff debate that has to include that. At the same time, there are 133 teams in this country, and there's really only one way to settle which team is number one, and that's by putting the 4 best teams on the field, and deciding from there which team comes out unsoiled and is the best team in the country. And I don't know if you had put Florida State there, that you would have allowed yourself to complete that debate to the fullest extent possible. Not to mention this, guys, like if it was as easy as going 13-0 and getting in, regardless of whether you're down to your third string QB or your backup QB. If it was that easy, why does the committee exist? The job for the committee is not an easy one. I don't begrudge them that. I think they made the right call. I know that's a little bit unpopular, but I think they made the right call. And more than that, I think we're going to see a repeat of 2014 where the number 4 seed, Ohio State back then, Alabama now, goes out and wins the national championship and proves them right. So there's a lot of controversy. It's all well-founded, but I want us to back up and see the big picture here. We are seeing the best 4-team playoff field ever, and I think we need to celebrate that while also saying, yeah, it's unfortunate for Florida State. But still, it's great for college football to have these 4 teams there.
The one thing that bugs me about all of this is I have no problem doing the 4 best teams. I don't. I have no issues with that. But then why did they put Cincinnati in the playoff 2 years ago? And their response was, well, you know, they were not one of the 4 best teams. You, Paul, I, Dan, Brandon, we could all see that. But yet they did because they went undefeated and did so. But we could all judge that. That's the problem I have, is that they pick and choose which criteria to use when it comes to the best 4. If you want to do best 4, so be it, but at least be consistent with that. That is my biggest problem.
Let's roll it forward, right? Sorry to interrupt you. Let's roll it forward. About 2.5 hours after they said Florida State was number 5, they said Liberty was number 16 ahead of SMU, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry, I didn't get 16. I forgot what their final ranking was. But I mean, so you're seeing a little bit of duplicity there, just to a degree. But I do understand that the debate for the best team of the group of 5 is a lot less than the debate for number 4. You know what I mean? That's like your side dish. Like, once you got your steak ordered, you don't care if it's cream corn or broccoli. Like, you don't care at that point. And I get that, but there is a little bit of a missed message there. We could be here all day, and maybe we should, talking about all the ways the committee could do better. Clearly, after 10 years, this 4-team field, like, this is the breaking point. So it's a good thing that this is ending. Unfortunately, we could have had a 12-team field this year as an aside, except we had the Alliance, which couldn't get the heck out of their own way. So we couldn't have a 12-team field until next year. So that's Florida State should be mad at those guys. I'm not angry at the committee this year for the top 4. I'm a little bit displeased in terms of their consistency. But look, like, we've all done this for years. We know by this time of year, unless they get real lucky, there's going to be consistency issues with the committee. There's going to be messaging issues with the committee. This year, they airballed the consistency. They airballed the message. But I think they stuck the landing, guys. I really think they did. Because I think this 14 field, 2 teams you couldn't leave out. Texas, they sure as heck deserve to be in. And I think Alabama deserves to be in as well.
Do you ever worry about, and I do think if the 4 teams were coming there next year, I do think Florida State would have gotten in, but because I think this is the last year of it, I think some of the committee just said, screw it. We're going to go with the best 4 teams currently as it stands. But a part of me says that the whole entire aspect of the season is, I was told my entire life, Paul, depth matters, right? You have to next man up, find a way to win, overcome adversity as a student athlete. And that's what Florida State did. Florida State beat the 10th ranked team in the country and smashed them with their 3rd string quarterback. Their defense was so good that they overcame that. But the committee then just said, yeah, that doesn't matter. Only certain individuals matter. The team doesn't. That is the one thing that goes against every principle that we talk about when it comes to a team.
Yeah, and it goes against what we value in teams, right? Like, you value the ability to weather the storm. And again, like, we want to talk about consistency. In another year, 2014, for example, the fact that you played so well or beat such a good team with your 2nd or 3rd string QB, Cardale Jones or Brock Glenn, is actually celebrated. Like, I remember 2014, they celebrated the fact that, by the way, they beat them 59-0, but they celebrated the fact that they beat Wisconsin because it showed to them how good the team was. So yeah, mixed messages, a lack of consistent message. But back to your earlier point, because it's a really good one, I asked around a lot this week about, do you think that if we were in 2020, 2019, if they would have made the same decision? And I really don't know if there's a good answer to that. I think it's probably a 50-50 split among people who follow the sport and work in it. I think in the end, they probably in any other year would have done this. But yes, part of me agrees. I do think that if we weren't going to 12-team and blowing up the 14 this year, Or in other words, the fact that we are blowing up the 14 this year, I think made it a lot easier because you're basically like, well, see ya. I got my ticket to Maui. Like, I'm out of here. So that's a really good point. I don't have a good answer for it, but I do believe that you're right, that it made it easier for them to make that decision.
We're chatting with Paul Myerberg of USA Today. It's the Big 12 Breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. Paul joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline every Thursday during the college football season at this time. I think for me, Paul, the last lingering question about the setup of the Final Four and who ended up getting in, would Florida State have been in if Jordan Travis had been healthy, or was the opinion of the committee that Alabama was the better team regardless?
I think they're in with Jordan Travis healthy because, think of it this way, right? I think at times, because I've done this mock thing 2 times, I'm not saying it's the same, but you do feel like when you get to a situation where you know you have 3 teams, or you even know you have 2 teams, what you're evaluating to a sense is which team is the easiest to leave out. I'm not saying that's the group think. I'm not saying that's the mindset of specifically anyone in that room on Sunday. But I know that's something that I felt. I know that's something that people have said before, was that we need to find a reason why this team can't go in so this team can go in. It made it a lot easier to justify not putting them in. So if you take that away, I don't think they're out. I really don't. Because what did they say on Sunday? They didn't say, oh, well, they played in the ACC. They didn't say, oh, well, LSU ended up losing 2 more times, or Clemson went 8-4. They said none of that. They said, we don't know how Florida State is going to play without their QB. So, yeah, I think you can say with really, really high certainty that if Jordan Travis is healthy, and even if they play the same way, I think you can say that they're in. And I know that if they play the way they did earlier in November against Florida and against Louisville, they are definitely in. They definitely are. Because, look, I don't think the committee wanted to leave them out, but they had the way to do it, and it worked for them.
You mentioned the G5 representative a moment ago and Liberty ending up getting the nod, and I am personally of the belief that they're going to lose by at least 1 billion points to Oregon when they play in their New Year's Six Bowl. Who do you think deserved to get that G5 spot?
No, it's SMU. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind it's SMU. And, like, we should be angrier. Well, we shouldn't be angrier, but there should be equal anger in some circles about Liberty getting in over SMU as there is about Alabama getting in over Florida State. I can explain away Alabama getting in over Florida State. Liberty did not play a Power 5 team all season long. Their best win was New Mexico State, and I really like New Mexico State, especially the outfits they wear. But if that's your best win on the season, that's a problem. They have 3 bowl wins. Bowling Green is the other one. So that's a problem. And like you're looking at this and you're like, what are you valuing? This is important to people. Like, it's important to Liberty and to SMU. Now, you want to talk conspiracies? SMU's leaving the group of 5. Did that play a role? I don't know. Maybe. I really don't know. Maybe they want to give Liberty a little bit of a help. I really don't know. But there's no way in my mind that you look at the schedule SMU played, the quality of teams they played in their conference, let alone Oklahoma and TCU. I mean, Tulane, you could take every opponent outside of New Mexico State that Liberty played, have them form an all-star team, and they still lose to Tulane. So I didn't get that one. I thought SMU should be in because you have to value, when you get to the group of 5 level in specific, you have to value the conference you play in. Conference USA is a joke. They just added Delaware. Delaware, Jacksonville State, UTEP, and Florida International are in the same conference. I don't know whether I love it or it's the worst thing that I've ever seen in my life. But Liberty did not deserve to get that nod. It really should have been SMU.
Paul Myerberg of USA Today joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline for the Big 12 Breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. Paul's joined us on Thursdays at this time throughout the college football season. You can check him out on Twitter at Paul Myerberg. Paul, earlier you alluded to it. You think Alabama's winning the college football playoff. So let me ask you, who wins the other semifinal? Who do you think Alabama beats in the championship game? Will it be the Big 12 champions, Texas, or will it be unbeaten Washington out of the Pac-12?
Yeah, as of right now, guys, I really think it's going to be Texas because I come down to this idea. I like Washington because they know how to win football games. And I know that's a stupid thing to say and it's cliche, but we've all watched like enough football and seen enough good teams that would trip on their own 2 feet to know that it takes something special, not just your athletic ability, but like your locker room, who you are as a person, who you are as a player, your coaches. It takes a special group to go 13-0. It is not easy, and they are winning so many close games. There's something special happening in Seattle. I don't want to overvalue that. But if this game gets into a shootout, I like Washington. The thing is, I think Texas can make them one-dimensional because this Texas run defense is so dang good. I think Texas can still run on Washington because their run defense is average. Sometimes it's worse. I think, in a way, Texas might want to try to turn this into a game that is less of a shootout, less of a quote-unquote Big 12 game, and more into a quote-unquote, the other semifinal. Maybe they want to play a Michigan or Alabama style and muddy it, make it dirty. If they can do that, look, Michael Penix is outstanding, but he has not been hit all season. He's had some misses. So I think Texas, if they can control the line of scrimmage and shut down their running game, that really plays in their favor. So as of right now, I really like Texas in this game, especially based off the way Ken Ewers has played since he came off of injury, because they're complete right now. They are definitely complete. So I really like that matchup for them. Let's see how it plays out, and maybe I'll change my mind in a few weeks. But when you can win up front on both sides, that makes it really hard for me to pick against you right now.
Meanwhile, on the Big 12 front, both teams in the state of Kansas lost their offensive coordinators in a week's span. Colin Klein leaving Manhattan to head to Texas A&M, while Andy Kotelnicki has decamped from Lawrence to State College and Penn State. Which of those two do you expect to have the most success in their new gig?
Yeah, Kotelnicki. I mean, for me, and I don't know if you guys agree or not, but for Texas A&M, I think there's going to be a personnel issue year one. I think they're going to get their QB back, right? But they're going to lose some talent. It's, again, a dramatically different schedule, obviously. Much more difficult schedule, and I just don't know exactly. The good thing about Klein, as you guys know, is that there is this ability to kind of tailor things. Like, it's not so complex and so complicated that it's going to take a year to reinvent the wheel. It's kind of universal, so I like that about it. But look what Kay's going into at Penn State, right? I mean, Alar, those young running backs, an offensive line that was at its best. They're going to lose Fashanu, but that was the best of the James Franklin era. There are a ton of weapons to work with. It's an open division to a degree. It's an open conference to a degree. So I think he's going to do fantastic there. The only issue that gives me pause is that Franklin has hired, I'm not going to be able to do the math real quick because I know we're running out of time. He's hired at least 4 different offensive coordinators since he got there. The number might be 5, and he's missed on 2 of them. So there was a hit or miss aspect to his hiring, and I don't want to predict greatness, but I like that hire more, and I think that his ability to kind of manufacture schemes and formations and get guys like Devin Neal the ball, like get your good players the ball, that plays well at Penn State. So I expect big things from him. And look, if he does well 2-3 years down the road, I mean, his stock has gone from he could get groceries and no one would know him to being on ESPN. So that's outstanding for him. His career is in flight.
One game coming up this weekend, Paul. It is one of my favorite games of the year, Army-Navy. Neither squad great at the moment. I think that's fair to say. It's maybe lost a little bit of the luster it had a couple years ago when Monken and Niumatalolo really had those programs rolling. But who you got this weekend in Army-Navy?
Yeah, so this is for a bowl game, right? So this is not something that you're going to fiddle with, not to mention that it's Army-Navy. To me, Navy's been the more consistent team all season. Navy's got the better defense. I don't know what Army's doing. Like, they've won 5 games, but they're not good. Like, I don't know what they are or what they're doing. But so I'm going to take Navy in this one. Like, I've gone to this game so many times throughout the years. I always find myself, maybe shouldn't say this, like strangely rooting for Navy. I don't really know why. So maybe my heart is talking right now, but I like Navy in this game because we've seen them beat some good teams this year. We've also seen them hang tight with some good teams. So it'll be a great way to end the first year for Newberry if he can get a win on Saturday.
Paul, we appreciate it. Have yourself a good time. Are you going to the game?
Don't think I'm going to go to the game this year. I'll probably end up just going to the Heisman because it's local.
Well,
Jaden Daniels, by the way.
You got your.
He's going to win it.
Jaden Daniels going to win it?
Yeah. I mean, at this point, everyone's going to vote for Daniels. Not to be a runaway, but he's going to win this thing.
All righty. Well, we appreciate it, Paul. Thank you so much. Talk to you next week.
Okay, talk to you. Bye-bye.
Paul Myerberg going with the Navy.
I will say, I like where I live, where we live, but it is kind of cool to say, can I go to Army-Navy? Nah, I'll just go to the Heisman ceremony. It's just local. Why not? Right? Pretty cool.
Yeah, both of them are honestly local, to be honest with you. Coming up, we got plenty more to get to here on 580 Sports Talk. 580 Sports Talk on a Thursday. Thanks for stopping by. Jake LeBon, Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero with you. Big shout out to the Washburn women's soccer team. They are headed to the national title game. That is right. I know. Do you think that they're playing this in their locker room, or what do you suppose the new age group is? Well, what's the new party song?
Taylor Swift. I don't know what song, but it's Taylor Swift.
I couldn't tell you.
You know? I don't know if they're rocking Mr. 305, Mr. Worldwide.
They should be.
Or are they doing something
Pitbull
else?
never go out of style.
That's fact.
But they're going to play for the national championship. It'll be 11 o'clock in the morning Central Time. They're out there on the right coast. They're in North Carolina, which was 50 degrees. And some of the commentary that I saw earlier today, it was the two people talking. One person was from the Northeast, and they said, Adelphi is on Long Island. That's where the school is. And they're like, this is both of these schools think this is summertime, 50 degrees. And then one of the commentators like, no, this is super cold. I mean, I'm from Texas, but this is super cold. What a run for the Washburn women. They've lost one game all year, and the one game that they lost, someone got a undeserved red card 9 minutes into the game, and they played with 10 players for essentially an entire game. And if you don't know anything about soccer, playing with 10 players instead of 11, very big deal, especially for that long. And a lot of the kids are local kids. This is what's so cool about this.
4 from Washburn Rural alone.
And the person who got the game-winning goal is a freshman from Washburn Rural.
Yeah, McKinley Roan.
McKinley Roan was the... Now, what's funny is the video, I don't know if the original shot by Chloe Shuckman, who's their leading goal scorer, by the way, a Bishop Carroll kid. I don't know, and maybe their best midfielder, Washburn Rural kid, Belle Kennedy. I don't know if that went in, but McKinley Roan hustled her, tail off and just smashed it into the back of the goal. I think the stats aren't up yet for the game, but I think she got credited for the goal. But if there was, like visuals and all that, because the ball hit off of the goalie's hand, hit the crossbar.
Yeah, hit the
went
underside of the crossbar and came straight down. And Roan was the first one, really the only one to react. Got in behind the defense.
So
and
cool. So
put
a
it
lot of young players too. This is not a huge senior laden team.
They were
to be honest with
6th
you
in the preseason MIAA coaches poll. 6th in the league.
Yeah. Well,
and they are one of 2 left.
Yeah. And they're the MIAA is a really good soccer league. Like Central Missouri, I think, has won 2 national championships.
It's a really good everything league.
I mean, it really, really is. But they're going to take on Point Loma, which is a school on the left coast, and it will be on Saturday at 11 o'clock.
It's in San Diego, I think.
Yes. Yep. They don't have football. Point Loma doesn't. A lot of the schools in Division II on the West Coast don't have football.
Point Loma Nazarene, they are the Sea Lions.
That's a great name.
They
Sea Lions versus Ichabods. That rules.
They won their semifinal game 3-0 over Florida Tech. So this is exciting. Washburn has a chance to win another national championship. They've won 2 national championships, one in basketball, men's basketball, one in women's basketball. So really cool. Congratulations to Davy Phillips and the gang. But the Washburn women's soccer team taking care of business. How about that? We got plenty more to get to, either or, over, under. We'll talk with Rick Peterson, all of that. Let us know your thoughts on our text line, 785-272-9429. Also, check us out on our YouTube page as well. News today, though, involving your Kansas City Chiefs and my Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, that ain't mine.
Isaiah Pacheco not practicing. This is not not a good situation. It's a bummer because the Chiefs need to win this game. If they would have beaten the Packers, a part of me would have said, let's be a little cautious because you don't want Pacheco to get banged up for the long haul. Because if you were tied right now with the Dolphins and you had beat the Packers, you'd still be tied. You still have the tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It's more of a, hey, let's just let Pacheco go. But you kind of need to win this one. And the Bills are going to go all out. I think this is a concern. And for sure tomorrow, because if he doesn't practice tomorrow, then he's probably not going to play. And we'll get the injury designation coming up tomorrow. But you're ready for me to be super optimistic? Here's me being super optimistic. Clyde Edwards-Helaire's looked all right last couple of games.
Like he
has
spottiest of spot duty.
Yeah,
he's had a little bit of juice.
He's done it.
We'll see.
Pirine and Prince, both
The P-Boys.
not
Please don't
worn
call
down.
him that again.
Not worn down. Not heavily used. Not beat up. I believe Matt Nagy called them fresh. So do you think that's good enough? Because here's the problem. The reason why the Chiefs offense has been better the last 3 weeks is because of the run game. It is because of Isaiah Pacheco. It's because of the O-line.
So the question
Eesh.
becomes, can they replicate that success to a reasonable level without their starting running back in the game? And generally speaking, teams that run the ball well continue to run the ball well, even with running back 2 or running back 3 on a broad scale.
If you're to ask me, what about this Chiefs team? I will tell you no. And here's the reason why. I think the running style of Pacheco fits this Chiefs blocking system. I don't think the patient, pick your spot, tiptoe, twinkle toe, non-run over you style that Clyde Edwards-Helaire has fits. There are a lot of times where I go, man, Pacheco got something out of nothing there. Man, Clyde ain't getting anything out of nothing. Like, if you get something on his plate, that's it. You know, he ain't getting any more. Like that run that Pacheco had that, you know, just kept pushing. Man, Clyde ain't doing that. Man, you hit Clyde's leg and he's falling down, man. Like, ain't none of that. So that's why, and I agree with you, Dan. Normally, it works. But until I see it from 2-5, or maybe Prince or maybe Pirine shows something that we've never seen before, I do think this is a concern. And then you got to say, okay, can they do it via the pass? The best news is that the Buffalo Bills defense hasn't been great as of late. You should be able to move the ball on the Buffalo Bills defense. But we've said that before with a lot of Chiefs opponents.
They lost Matt Milano and Trey White, I think the same game or within a week of each other.
Mm-hmm.
They lost Milano and Tre'Davious White. With those two both in the lineup, according to expected points added, they had the best defense in the NFL. They did. They were playing like the best defense in the NFL with those two guys healthy. Since then, without those two guys, they have played like the 20th best defense in the NFL. And it's rare that you can point to two players and say, oh, you take them out, that collapses the whole house of cards. But with White, you lose the cornerback you're afraid to throw towards. So you can throw it either side of the field. You're not worried about Kaiir Elam. You're not worried about any of their defensive backs making big plays. And with Matt Milano, he was the guy that kind of shut down the middle of the field. He could help you in the pass rush. He could help you against the run. He's that jack of all trades linebacker, and they haven't really been able to adequately replace him.
The Bills, using their full season right now, looking at the advanced metrics, they're 12th against the pass in expected points added. They are 17th against the run. I'm going to imagine this is probably close to an 80-20 pass to run split in this game for the Chiefs, just if I had to guess. I mean,
is that with or without Pacheco?
without Pacheco. Thank you for the correction. Without Pacheco, because he is by far the Chiefs' best rushing option, and they don't even like to use him as much as they should. So if you're left with juiceless Clyde Edwards-Helaire and maybe a recovering Jerick McKinnon, maybe.
So we call him like water-Helaire? He's juiceless?
Sure.
Like, what is something, if you don't have any juice, what are you? Just, you're bland? Non-seasoned Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
I suppose. I would probably just stick with juiceless because
well done.
Well done. Clyde, not so much glide Edwards-Helaire. I don't know.
All right.
Either way, he's not very good. So you're probably not going to lean on him to run. Now, it would be immensely funny and also stupid and maddening at the same time if the Chiefs did hand the ball to Edwards-Helaire like 24 times in this game. That would be pretty wild.
They'll get 48 yards.
Yeah, probably.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I imagine we'll see a pretty pass-happy attack. More so than normal for the Chiefs.
Let's say Pacheco doesn't go. You want to know what the biggest issue? It's not the overall running game. If Pacheco can't go, you want to know what it is? It's 3rd and 1.
Yeah.
What are they going to do on 3rd and 1 if you don't got the battering ram?
The dumbest thing you've ever seen.
Exactly. You think Clyde? They're going to trust Clyde? It took how long for them to trust Isaiah Pacheco and his "I hate the ground, I'm going to stab it with my cleats and push off of it"? They finally, within the last 2 weeks, got to that point.
We have a suggestion, by the way, from the 316 on the text line for dry Edwards-Helaire.
Nice.
Bitter Edwards-Helaire.
That one from the 785.
Like, I now have, I just got, I got the heebie-jeebies. I got the feels like something bad's happening right now. Like 3rd and 1. Mm-hmm. What are they going to do? They're going to do a jet sweep, or they're going to, toss sweep it to Clyde, and he's going to wait and find a hole and then get smashed by, somebody on the Buffalo Bills, linebacking core, or they're going to run a pass route and Sky Moore's not going to catch it, or MVS going to run the wrong route, or like that was the one thing in the game against the Packers when it was 3rd and 1. I didn't have this overwhelming feeling of, oh dear crap. Like I didn't. I thought to myself, well, they're just going to hand it off. And they did. Is that what it feels like knowing the Eagles will always get a first down on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1? Because that's a great feeling that we just hand it to Pacheco and he's just going to smash into the O-line and he'll get the first down. Perfect.
Rare that you felt as good about 3rd and 1 as over the years you felt about like 3rd and 12 with the Chiefs.
Yes. Like, and now I have got that feeling already right now if Pacheco doesn't go.
Here's an outside the box solution from the 785 on the text line. Give the ball to Chris Jones on 3rd and 1.
No, that's
funny.
That goes with what Brendan says. They're going to do the dumbest thing possible. Give it to a guy who's, that's as bad as giving it to, like, doing Blake Bell doing a quarterback sneak.
Oh, we're totally going to see that. That's coming back. Tight end, direct snap. Oh, yeah, that's coming back.
Do you remember when they did that with Tommy Townsend on a fake field goal?
Yes.
Hey, did that work?
I don't care that it worked or didn't work. They did a quarterback sneak with Tommy Townsend, and you won't do it with Patrick Mahomes.
You could argue the health of Townsend's legs is more important than Mahomes's.
Gosh. My goodness.
Townsend needs those for his job.
The Belldozer, it needs to be put in the shed, and he doesn't need
decommissioned.
To be
I don't have a problem with, like, if they just came out and like don't do any funny stuff. Like, go out, and if you're gonna run a real sneak, okay, fine. Like, what team was it that brought in their backup to run the sneak a couple of weeks back?
Are you thinking of the college game? Because there was Maryland did that against Michigan. Maryland's backup quarterback's entire job was to do quarterback sneaks because he is a lot bigger than Talia Tagovailoa.
It wasn't. It was an NFL game. And you know what? It might have been the Dolphins. Who's the Dolphins' backup?
Mike White.
Okay, then it wasn't them.
Unless they were playing Skyler, which I don't think they were.
No, I
He said, okay, it wasn't him.
It wasn't. I know I saw it. I saw a team bring their backup quarterback in to run the sneak.
Derek Nottie put him in on 3rd and 1. Also, you know what we're going to see on 3rd and 1? Wildcat jet sweep with Tony and Sky Moore from the 7-8-5. Oh, yeah, that's happening.
Yeah, you're going to see crack cocaine in football form on a 3rd down and 1, and it's just going to go for a loss of 3 yards.
Yeah, that's happening.
Was it Tannehill? No, it couldn't have been. He'd been dinged up. I don't know, man.
Back.
I know I saw it. All I'm going to tell you is I saw
just
a team.
You.
Yes, source, trust me, bro.
Trust me.
A team brought their backup. So
Trust
fine,
me.
bring Blaine Gabbert in, line him up under center, run the sneak, get half a yard. I have no problem with that. The whole point of the QB sneak is you need so little yardage that it doesn't matter if the other team knows it's coming. Just do it.
Yeah, not hard.
Don't mess around, run 8 guys in motion, and then all of a sudden it's Creed Humphrey taking the snap from Travis Kelce and running the sneak.
Do you guys remember when Zeke Elliott took the snap?
And there was nobody but the center, and Zeke Elliott snapped the ball
and got absolutely destroyed as an O-lineman last year in the final game of the year.
Yeah, just awesome.
That I knew
his final play as a Dallas Cowboy.
Yeah, got just absolutely flat-footed. Didn't know what to do. Just got smashed.
He got blasted 6 yards in the backfield. Looked like something from the movie Little Giants.
Yeah, that was so hilarious. Mike McCarthy. Holy cow. But that's a big concern right now because Pacheco's been the guy. Now, the Bills giving up a lot of points recently. Are you more concerned about the Bills, Chiefs offense in this situation, or are you worried about the Bills offense? Because the Bills offense has been playing pretty well the last couple of games.
I'm still going to go with I'm not super worried about the Bills offense because they beat you one way. There's one way for the Bills to beat you, and that is Josh Allen playing like the MVP. And he's got that ability. And if that happens, well, he's done that before. Like it is what it is. But it's not like facing the Chiefs teams of the last couple of years where it could be Kelce, or before that it could have been Hill, or it could be the running game, or it could just be Mahomes going nuts with Juju and company. It's not that. Is Josh Allen going to play like the best quarterback in the NFL?
And, I mean, here's their points they've scored the last couple of games. 34, 32, 22, their last 3 games. The one thing, too, about the Bills is Josh Allen's going to have the ball a lot. Chiefs defense, we think, is still really good. Josh Allen turns it over.
Yeah.
Chiefs defense, as we talked about earlier this week, they have struggled to turn the ball, turn teams over. This has to be a week that changes. They're going to have to intercept a couple of interceptable passes because Allen will put a couple of those out there.
Here's an update for you. We did this a couple weeks ago. Where do the Chiefs rank in the NFL in turnover margin?
Oh, really bad.
Bottom half of the league.
Really bad.
Yes, bottom half for sure.
I would say bottom 7.
Oddly specific, but technically, yes, they are 7th worst. All right. They're 26th in the league, -6. They've given the ball away 6 more times than they've taken it away.
Yeah.
Their 14 takeaways in and of themselves. Oh, God, they're tied for roughly 22nd. Roughly. I'm not going to count each line on the ESPN website, but there you go. So, yeah, they don't take away the ball all that often, but you're going up against a quarterback who does give it away a bunch, whether it's with interceptions or fumbles. He does fumble a lot, and he's going to run the ball a lot in this game. You would love, third quarter, Josh Allen takes off running, and he gets thumped by Nick Bolton, then he just hits him hard enough, the ball pops out, and the Chiefs recover it. You'd love a play like that.
Yep.
You just can't really plan for that with this team.
Coming up next, we got a little either or over under, and then we'll talk with Rick Peterson on all things high school prep sports. righty. A little either or over under because we've had a few different individuals be offered to carry the football on 3rd and 1. All right. You're the Kansas City Chiefs. You have to give the football to a non-skill player. Who are you giving it to? Chris Jones, Derek Nottie, George Karlaftis.
Can this be anyone? Is there any non-skill player?
Give me your answer and I'll tell you if it's allowed or not.
No, you have to no.
What?
No, what are the parameters for your question?
They got to be over 250 pounds.
Okay, well, now I got to go. All right. I'm going to go dig through the roster here.
Yeah, who did you want to give it? Like, you can't give it to like McDuffie or one of those guys.
A lineman. Just say a lineman.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, I don't want to give it to a lineman. I want to have a linebacker do it. I want how heavy is okay, so it can't be Willie Gay. He's 243.
Who are you giving it to, Dan?
Probably Chris Jones.
Chris Jones?
I think you've been waiting a long time.
Nick Bolton is lighter than Willie Gay?
Yeah, that tracks.
Okay, well, I guess I can't pick Nick Bolton then. All right, fine. Give me Leo Chanel.
Okay.
I want the right combination of speed and power.
Okay.
I wanted to go with Bolton because I know he's got decent hands for the ball.
No, I think first and goal at the 1, Chris Jones is plunging in. If I give him the rock.
Either that or he's fumbling.
Yeah, that's the risk you run.
Yeah.
Is maybe not can they take the ball, but can they hold on to the ball?
Did the fridge ever fumble?
Great question.
I have no idea.
Thankfully,
Yeah, Pro Football Reference probably have that.
Pro Football Reference will indeed tell us. Let's see. In his career fumbling numbers, he fumbled twice in his career.
Ooh.
Yeah, 2 fumbles in his 2nd and 3rd years with the Bears.
Hold on to the ball, man. That'd be a very cheap thing to do, though.
Yeah, I would agree. Either or, would you rather have William the Refrigerator Perry be your dietitian or General or Doctor or whatever his title is, Richard Linton, be your boss?
That's wild.
I'll go with the fridge because just because he tells you what to eat doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah, bosses give orders. Dietitians give suggestions.
Guidelines.
Guidelines.
Yeah, but if you're going to pay him, why wouldn't you follow what he's doing? Why would you just
I might
give
follow
him
the
your
opposite. Fridge, he not, is he deceased or is he still kicking? I know he had a tough stretch post-playing career. His weight really got away from him for a while. And I think he was in a Sports Illustrated, Where Are They Now? And seemed to be maybe doing a little better.
Yeah, he's still alive.
He's still rolling.
Good.
Yeah.
That makes me happy. I wasn't sure.
He was doing something with the women's professional league, the Once Upon a Time Lingerie Football League. I think he was doing something with them.
Oh, was he?
I thought so. I might be confusing him with Gilbert Brown, though.
Man, he boxed Manute Bol. How depressing.
Yeah, that's a little sad. Okay, so according to a 2011 ESPN feature, the fridge at one point had problems with drinking, his health, and weighed over 400 pounds.
Yeah, he had fallen on some really hard times. I hope he's doing okay.
Circa 2018, though, he is doing a lot better than he's done in a long time. So good for the fridge. Hope he's continuing to get better. Yeah, I'd rather have the fridge be my dietitian, though.
Over under 0.5 college basketball games Nae'Qwan Tomlin plays ever again.
Over.
Yeah, he'll play somewhere.
You think you think somebody else will find a place for him to play?
I do.
I think someone will.
I think he needs that. I think he needs that for his own sake, but I also think he needs it for the sake of whatever future he might have as a basketball player. He needs to play in games.
Yeah, I saw it posited that maybe he just goes pro somewhere, but I don't.
In something other than sports?
Well, no, probably basketball.
We all go some pro and something other than sports eventually.
But I don't know. I have a hard time seeing him going directly pro because I I think his ceiling is really high, but I think still he's played such little basketball in his life. I think the floor is still pretty low. I mean, is it worth it to go play in like third division Latvian basketball? I don't know.
I think he'd play probably in the top league.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Like Eurobasket? The EuroLeague? No way. No way.
I think he could work his way up to it. Starting out, though, yeah, probably not. But I think he could end up at the top league.
Yeah, I could see that eventually. But
Yeah.
I think if he chose right now to forego using his last year of eligibility and refused to use a grad transfer and just went pro in overseas, I don't think he could play top level. I just think he's too raw.
Yeah, right now, yeah.
Someday, though, sure, I would agree with that.
I think he will play somewhere, though.
Yeah, I think he will.
I mean,
I think he'll get a nice little NIL bag from someone.
and he could do it within the next 10 days.
So K-State's winter graduation is this weekend?
This week's Washburns.
Believe it's this weekend.
I
I
don't
think
know.
there were some rumors that Tomlin's family was in town to see him
Woof.
graduate.
Damn.
Or coming to town at least to see him graduate this weekend.
Well, and
It could be tomorrow, depending on what school he's in.
Yeah, I haven't found a straight answer on that. I don't know what he's getting his degree in.
Yeah, the 8th or the 9th. I did see he's the first, would be the first person
Yeah.
in his family to graduate, which is awesome for him.
Yeah, that's what Fitz said.
Yeah,
yesterday.
Fitz has brought that up, and I don't think that was by mistake. That was a priority of this coaching staff, and I believe that. I absolutely believe that's something that Jerome Tang would prioritize beyond like wanting to have him back for basketball reasons. I think it was really important to the staff, and I'm sure really important to Nae'Qwan to get that degree and walk across that stage here in a couple of days.
Yeah,
And that's worth celebrating, man. Like you want to talk about what this situation, like you feel if you're a fan, powerless in the situation, and show Nae'Qwan Tomlin some love on the occasion of receiving that diploma. That's what you do, because that's a victory.
Yeah.
Particularly given that he's the first in his family to do it.
What do you think?
Hey,
I think he probably does play somewhere.
you're ready for this? He should, if he graduates, walk across the stage. You want to know who's got to shake his hand?
Who?
Most presidents are the ones who do it.
Yeah. Depending on the school you graduate from, yeah.
Depends. Now,
Well, yeah.
Some of it do, your, department chair, if you're a biology major, it's that department chair, not the president. But I know this, a lot of places, the president shakes your hand, and that could be interesting.
I mean, if we're being just in all honesty, like if I'm Richard Litton, I'm thinking, the School of Communications? No, I'm going to be at engineering at that time. Sorry.
Nah, he's going to pull a Tony Petiti at the Big Ten championship game and like say one thing and get out of Dodge, slink off the stage.
When I graduated, because KU, you had two, you had your individual school and then the whole university the next day. I walked across the stage at the J school one, and I shook hands with a professor who I knew of, but I never had her for a class or anything. And she gave me this really big, tight hug. It's like, look how far we've come. It's like, I don't know you. I have no idea how far you've come.
I can tell you this, when I graduated way back then, they mispronounced my name wrong. And the first thing was someone who's sitting next to me goes, they apparently didn't go to a football game.
Congratulations to Jake Lebahan.
That's about what they said. And then my dad said the same thing. The PA guy, clearly not a football announcer. Yeah, they butchered my name walking across it.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Coming up next, though, we will get to Rick Peterson here on 580 Sports.
us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline is Rick Peterson from TopSports.News. He joins us at this time every single Thursday as we go all the way around the high school world here in Topeka and Shawnee County, brought to you by Lewis Toyota. You can find all of Pistol's work over at the recently updated TopSports.News, and you can find him on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. Pistol, we have heard you are on the road today.
I've been sitting in White Auditorium watching the Hayden girls and the Spring Hill girls in the first game of the Paul Terry Classic. So you'll hear a lot of balls bouncing and maybe some noise, but hey, we're good to go.
Hey, we can certainly live with that. That's nothing new to us. Let's talk about the Hayden girls real quick. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they were up after the first quarter. How is Carvel Reynoldson's group looking?
They're up 21-17 at halftime.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. We will stay updated throughout the interview. All right, Pistol, let's get to some of the action from the first weekend of, and well, now into the second week of high school basketball action here in the city. What headlines have stood out to you through these first couple of games?
Oh, probably maybe Highland Park boys. I knew they were still going to be good. They come out of the gate and hang 90 points on Bonner Springs. That's a very, very good start for them. I think with them, they lost some very good seniors, but maybe there's some kids that people didn't know about that are very good too. So I look for them to have another very good year.
That's one of those programs, I think, Pistol, at Highland Park that has had so much continuity over the last couple of years that to be such a new look team. I think Topeka West kind of falls in the same category, and they had a big win over Seaman earlier this week. I think that's really going to show us the mettle of some of these coaches, and that's not to say, I'm surprised that Mike Williams or Rick Bloomquist are good coaches. That's an obvious no-duh kind of thing. But I'm kind of excited to see what these great coaches are able to do with very new look rosters this season.
Yeah, and I see the coaches a lot, and both Mike and Rick Bloomquist were just very, very excited about their group coming back, or the group they had that's coming back, and they've shown that so far. I mean, hey, I mentioned Highland Park, but Topeka West has had two just very, very good performances right out of the gate with again, guys that I didn't even know. So. That speaks good, like you said, that speaks good for the program.
We're chatting with Rick Peterson from TopSports.News. This is the Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around on 580 Sports Talk. Go find all of Pistol's work covering our local teams at TopSports.News, and make sure you're following him as well on Twitter, where his handle is at Peterson_Rick. While we're talking about the Highland Park boys, we might as well mention the Highland Park girls as well. They got off to a solid win against Bonner Springs as well, 52-41 earlier this week. And what a surprise, Pistol. Amelia Ramsey had another huge night. 21 points, 23 rebounds. It's amazing to think she's still just starting her junior year. And if you want to talk about any player in the city who I would still say, boys or girls, the sky is the limit and then some, I think Amelia Ramsey is still at the top of that list.
Yeah, and I would agree. In talking with Coach Brown, she just seems to keep getting better, and I think she will. I mean, I think she'll get better this year, and then I think she'll get better as a senior. And I'm hoping some colleges are noticing her. If they aren't, they better, because she's a 6-footer. She can move. She gets more athletic every year, and I think she's a prospect.
On the girls' side, too, moving over to the United Kansas Conference, we're going to have Shawnee Heights basketball in action coming up tomorrow, Heights and West. You'll be able to hear all that action right here on 580 WIBW. Shawnee Heights' girls, they got a win earlier this week. They took down Piper to get their first win of the season. And you want to talk about a team that lost a lot from last season. If I'm not mistaken, Pistol, one starter back for Bob Wells' group, Breezy Kennedy, a lot of new faces, players who were varsity a year ago, but maybe didn't have a ton of playing time behind that veteran group. What are some of your expectations for Bob Wells' team this year with all those new starters?
Well, they played a good first game and lost to a good DeSoto team. But the person you probably need to keep an eye on is Kay Emmett. She's a freshman. She had 9 the first game and then had 24 the other day. So I think she's a star in the making. So and then the other girls are just stepping into more roles, bigger roles. playing more in crunch time, and we'll just have to see how they come out. But they got to have leadership from Kennedy, and then I think they have some girls that can score and good post play. I think they'll keep improving. This will be a good game for them. And if they're all of a sudden 2-1 at the start, I think Bob Wells would feel good about that.
Our guest is Rick Peterson of TopSports.News, joining us for the Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around here on 580 Sports Talk, as he does every Thursday at this time. And we can segue, Pistol, from talking about the Shawnee Heights girls into looking ahead to our Lewis Toyota Game of the Week tomorrow night from the Birdcage, as Shawnee Heights welcomes Topeka West for some UKC basketball action. Talk about that girls matchup first. It's a young team, as we mentioned, for Shawnee Heights. Topeka West also working in some young players, and of course their first-year head coach Angie Ketterman having to take over the program just about a month or even less before the start of the season. How do you handicap this matchup? What are you most interested in seeing, or who maybe are you most interested in seeing when the Lady Chargers and Lady T-Birds lock up?
Well, I think Topeka West has a couple of players I really like. Zoe Clark, and then I can't think of her name right now. Amani McGlory. Two good players, and I think they kind of need to set the tone for Topeka West. But I think they're just going to grow as the season goes on. And Ketterman's it's her first year as a head coach, but she's a veteran coach, and I think she'll get them going. They showed a lot of improvement to me from their first game to their second game against a very good Seaman team.
The boys contest features a Topeka West team that has come out firing with consecutive wins, and a Shawnee Heights team that has lost their first two, but very young under Coach Ken Darding, and the two losses are against really good teams. DeSoto's a top 5 team in 5A. Piper, a consistently excellent program as well. This is an interesting matchup, and I love when two veteran head coaches like Ken Darding and Rick Bloomquist get together. It's always an interesting chess match in that regard.
And it will be. Yeah, most definitely. And I think Rick Bloomquist would probably rather Shawnee Heights be 2-0 because they come in 0-2. They're at home. They're going to have a little bit of motivation because of that, looking for that first win. So it'll be a very, very tough game.
Again, those are our Lewis Toyota High School basketball games of the week tomorrow night. Friday night, we'll have coverage starting around 5:30 for the girls contest, and the boys game to follow as Topeka West takes on Shawnee Heights at Shawnee Heights. Pistol, if I may, I'd like to pivot to the mats. Wrestling season getting underway. What has stood out to you about some of the local talent in the early stage of the high school wrestling season?
Well, I think it's about what we expected. Washburn Rural is going to be very good, and they are always very good, and they're off to a good start. I was impressed with some of the 501 wrestlers I saw last week at the Highland Park Invitational, and there's some really good teams in the area too. Silver Lake girls won the tournament they were in. And then you got, a 3-time champ over at Rossville. So I'm looking forward. We got a couple of big tournaments coming up this week. I'll be covering the Melvin Douglas Invitational, and we'll know more as we go on. But I think it's going to be another good year for local wrestlers.
Pistol, do you think it's a year that, from a statewide perspective, and I know admittedly it's hard to get a great grasp on it this early in the season, but relative to the statewide success that city teams have had in recent years, do you think this year will stack up?
Yeah, I think we'll know more when we get into February. And the reason I say that, I know Washburn Rural, defending state champs in girls, they've had some injury issues. Have to have some people step up. But, I certainly don't think you can count any teams out for title possibilities.
Just a few more minutes with Rick Peterson, who covers all things prep sports and Washburn sports. Every team here in the capital city and around Shawnee County for TopSports.News. Head to the website for all the best coverage from Pistol and his whole crew of our local teams. You can also find him on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. He joins us for the Lewis Toyota High School Whip Round every Thursday at this time. A couple other notes to get to here, Pistol, before we let you go for today. Wanted to touch on a little postseason football. You had it up at the website just the other day since we last spoke to you. Centennial League, all all league picks for this year. Not really a surprise that Washburn Rural dotted most of that list.
No, not at all. There were some people, grousing a little bit that J.C. Heim didn't get the Defensive Player of the Year, but I'm sure that was a toss-up between Boganowski and J.C., so I have no real problem with that. Those are two great, great players. Deweese got the Offensive Player of the Year, which I think was a very valid choice.
It is looking at some of these individuals, and you look, Paxton Bettis is going to play Division I football. JC and his brother Jaron Heim, wherever they go, they're going to be impact players, whether they walk on at one of the local schools, KU or K-State, or go to the D2 level. Branton Deweese, what a career. 2 first-team All-Centennial League picks and a second-team All-Centennial League pick. I know that they came up a little bit short going for state pistol, but, man, what a group of individual careers for some of those Junior Blues.
Yeah, just a great senior class. And, Coach Bueller said that all the way along. Just a great senior class that hopefully he thinks set the stage for some of those younger kids.
Last couple of questions I've got for you, Pistol. Wanted to get to some Washburn sports real quick before we let you go. How about Washburn women's soccer? We were watching it in studio earlier today. They're going to play for a national championship coming up this weekend after a 1-0 win over Adelphi today. What an impressive run for these Washburn women, Pistol.
Well, they've been a fun team to watch. I've watched them several occasions, and they're just a fun team to watch. They work hard. They got a great goalkeeper in Reagan Wells. They got a great player in Chloe Shuckman, and they just seemingly keep getting better.
And the fact, too, and I know we've talked about this before, and I'm sure next week, once this is all said and done, we'll talk about it again, but the number of local products, not just kids from the state of Kansas, but kids from Topeka, they've got 4 players from Washburn Rural alone, Pistol. That makes this, I think, even more special for this community, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and with this kind of success, they'll probably keep getting more of those great players. So I think we'll have a good local influence for quite some time.
I would have to imagine. So last thing I've got for you, Pistol, a couple of Washburn basketball games coming up this weekend. Back at home, they will be at Lee Arena on Saturday for a doubleheader as the Ichabods take on Rogers State. You can hear those games on our sister station, Country 106.9. Pregame coverage beginning at 12:45 on Saturday afternoon. What do you make of these matchups, Pistol against Rogers for the Ichabods? And how do you feel about where the men's and women's teams have started off the MIAA season?
Well, I think they're building. And I think they're going to continue to build. I think tomorrow is important. I think this is 2 games they can get. So I think they need to get those, and I think that's where the coaches feel too. And if they can get those, they're looking good.
Rick Peterson covers all of our local teams, whether it's Washburn, whether it's Preps, in Topeka, all around Shawnee County. They are all covered better than anywhere else over at topsports.news. Go check out his and his crew's work there. You can follow Pistol 2 on Twitter, where his handle is at Peterson_Rick. Pistol, enjoy the basketball. What's the updated score there? How are the Hayden Lady Wildcats doing?
27-22, Hayden.
Love to hear that. All right, Pistol, enjoy the basketball today. Enjoy all the action this weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
That's Rick Peterson from topsports.news. Sounded like a great crowd down there at White Auditorium.
Yeah, you love when you get the atmosphere. That Pistol's got the boots on the ground, working hard to bring you the coverage of a local team. That's always kind of fun when you catch that. Tournament time, early season tournaments, and is it just me or are more local teams playing in these early season tournaments?
I had the exact same thought,
and maybe that's, it could just be anecdotal, but it does feel like Rural Girls been out at Hayes for a season opening tournament last couple of years. Hayden's in a season opening tournament. Care Paravel was in an opening season opening tournament. A lot of the bigger schools have tended towards just playing the mid-season. The mid-January tournaments, but some are also opting to get a little bit of tournament play in December, which more common for smaller schools because it's just a way to get together and play some teams over the weekend. But seeing some schools here in the city doing that more and more.
Topeka High boys, they're playing in a tournament over at DeSoto as well, the Hardwood Classic there. Again, our games of the week coming up tomorrow night. Pregame at about 5:30, Topeka West at Shawnee Heights. Dan and the coach, Larry Latimer, will be on the call of those right here on 580 WIBW. Let's get to a break for the news. When we come back, some big news from the the college sports world this week that could really change things. We'll explain what we mean next on 580 Sports Talk. way home on a Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dorzinski and Dan Lucero here with you the rest of the way today. Busy day here on the airwaves. Appreciate everyone who's hung out with us, whether you're listening online, listening on your radio, or checking us out on the YouTube stream for hanging out with us today. Still to come on the show, we're going to hear from the Chiefs offensive and defensive coordinators, Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo. That's coming up later on this hour. Mitch Holthus will also join us coming up at the bottom of next hour. I know that folks are very much excited and hopeful to hear from Mitch after he missed the Chiefs-Packers game this weekend. Obviously, we're hoping for the best for Mitch as well. Hope he's doing better. We'll hear from him coming up next hour. That's still to come. Tonight, over on our sister station, Country 106.9 at 6 o'clock, the Washburn Basketball Coaches Show. Yours truly will be hosting tonight, meeting with Brett Ballard and Laura Westling, the head men's and women's basketball coaches for the Ichabod's. We're going to talk a little about that soccer team, too. Going to play for a national championship coming up this weekend. How cool is that for Washburn sports and for Washburn soccer? Head coach Davey Phillips. So we'll get to that. That's coming up on the Washburn Coaches Show. Again, that is tonight from 6 until 7, live from Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. And that'll be over on Country 106.9. Here in this hour, along with the coordinators, we've also got What Is Wrong With You, and a story we've been sitting on for the last couple of days about a proposed change for NIL rules and the true upper crust of college sports and really college football, and why, if it reminds you of the old European Soccer Super League idea from a few years ago, you're not alone. We're going to get to that in a moment. We'll still take your texts. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. Our YouTube stream can be found on our YouTube channel. It's called 580 Sports Talk. Appreciate all the folks who have been subscribing and checking us out over the last couple of days. Those numbers have gone way up. K-State fans, pretty worked up about Colin Klein and Nae'Qwan Tomlin and Richard Linton. And let me tell you, I get it. We appreciate you coming to us to share your thoughts and to hear all about what's going on in Manhattan. And we would love to get your comments on our YouTube stream. Again, our channel is called 580 Sports Talk. Just search for it on YouTube. That's the easiest way to find us. So before we get to this story from college sports, Dan, a couple pieces of NFL news and notes to get to today. Number one, former Kansas Jayhawk Kyron Johnson, he's being promoted from the Steelers practice squad to their active roster for Thursday Night Football tonight. Very cool for Kyron. Very happy for him. Also, if you're a football coach, and this is more a piece of advice than anything else, if you are an NFL football coach and you are trying to find a way to generate togetherness and unity for your team, I would probably not use the example of the single greatest tragedy on American soil in the history of our country.
Let me answer your question or your hypothetical with a question or a hypothetical. Can you think of an example of teamwork? Can you think of an example of a group working together to achieve a goal?
You know, I can. I think back to when I had to do outdoor adventure when I was in 8th grade. We got put in groups of like 4. We got a bunch of blocks or wood planks. And you had to cross from one side of the field to the other, but you could only step on the planks. You had to pick them up and move them and somehow, navigate around logs and mud puddles and stuff. And you only had your group. You had to hold hands and get across. You had to learn how to work as a team, how to communicate, things like that. Maybe a little elementary for, older people, but still.
But we've all been in situations, perhaps, that are relatable to the idea of teamwork.
Sure.
Coming together with people from different backgrounds, all in the service of achieving one common goal. In fact, sports themselves are littered with examples of such teamwork. The 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team is a very popular one to use. The movie Miracle illustrates that very well.
Shoot, Florida State football. They lost their starting quarterback, their backup quarterback, and they still won an ACC championship because of teamwork and togetherness.
So what I'm saying and what we are saying is that there are lots of great examples of teamwork and coming together that do not invoke 9/11. And yet Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott couldn't come up with any better example on the fly when speaking to his team at training camp than the 9/11 hijackers. No, not the people that helped Flight 93 crash relatively harmlessly into a field in Pennsylvania instead of hitting the White House or the Capitol building, whatever the target for that ill-fated
Pentagon,
flight
yeah.
was. No, he used the hijackers as an example of people who were all able to get on the same page to orchestrate attacks to perfection. That is from the reporting of Ty Dunn, who earlier today on his paid newsletter, Go Long, released a 3-part series about Sean McDermott's tenure as the Bills head coach and why it is failing and why it may soon come to an end. And one of the stories used to illustrate McDermott's failure of leadership, struggles to communicate, was that was the example he used with his team to try and illustrate an example of teamwork.
He at some point went one by one and started asking players in the room specific questions like, what tactics do you think they used to come together? What do you think their biggest obstacle was? This is an NFL head coach.
Shout out to the veteran player who responded to that particular question with TSA to lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah, this is it is just coming to light now. It happened in 2019. If that happened when things were getting good, what do you think it's been like now that things are not so good? It's over. It has never been more over for Sean McDermott.
I've had some questions about Sean McDermott for a while. Other people have had questions about Sean McDermott going even further back, like the time he just decided he was going to start Nathan Peterman in an NFL game and see how that went for him. And then it went how everybody knew it would go, except worse. There have been a lot of questions about Sean McDermott. And this, I don't know of a better thing to call it than an expose by Ty Dunn. He is the reporter. You can find him on Twitter at Ty Dunn. Again, his newsletter is called Go Long. It is paywalled, so you will not be able to read all of it unless you are a subscriber. But there is a prelude to it that is worth reading. That is up there for the free if you are interested in checking it out. Really just lays bare all of McDermott's insecurities and failures as a leader. And if you are a Chiefs fan, as many of you listening are, you can take a little bit of pride, maybe is the word, in knowing that the 13 seconds game completely broke Sean McDermott's brain.
Yeah, permanently. And that happened. That happens in the NFL, which is weird. Like Matt Nagy's tenure was doomed by the double doink. It was over. Like he never recovered as a head coach from that moment.
Yeah.
Which is kind of amazing. And 13 seconds did that to Sean McDermott. Don't ever cite 9/11. Especially if you're trying to use the terrorist's perspective. That is insane.
Yeah, that is absolutely bonkers. To think I'm going to stir up my team. I'm going to provide them an example of teamwork at its best. How the guys that carried out one of the greatest mass murders in American history? How about those guys?
This just popped up, this snippet of this particular story. That's why it's coming up right now. But goodness gracious, that is unthinkable.
It is never great if you are having to discuss in your press conference the week leading up to the most important game of your season.
Mm-hmm.
If you are having to say, hey, you know what? I shouldn't have talked about 9/11. That was my bad. I regret. Like there's an old tweet by all-time great Twitter user Drill that references the terror group ISIL issuing a correction to a previous post of mine regarding the terror group ISIL. You do not, under any circumstances, gotta hand it to them.
Dude,
correct.
No, you absolutely do not.
You do not, under any circumstances, gotta hand it to them.
There is no need to ever bring up this tragedy in this context.
If you are sitting in front of the media on a Thursday before the biggest game of your season, and one of the things you are saying starts with, I regretted mentioning 9/11, bro.
Yeah, it's over. It's done. You're done, Sean McDermott. Cooked. Put a fork in him.
Even if they win Sunday.
Yeah, put a fork in him. It's over. It is so over. All right, let's get to what we wanted to actually talk about here for a moment. this story came out earlier this week about Charlie Baker, the current president of the NCAA, proposing a new rule, new guidelines, new legislation that would essentially allow the top tier programs in college sports, but really we're talking about college football here, to be able to directly pay athletes, that another new form of NIL, essentially. Instead of going through the collectives, you could just give your athletes money directly, capped at, I believe it was $120,000. And only certain programs would be allowed to do this. And you're looking at the programs that have the strongest financials, again, specifically in college football. You're looking at SEC programs. You're looking at Big Ten programs. You're looking at a smattering of programs from the ACC and now the Big 12, because a lot of those Pac-12 programs are elsewhere. And you're pretty much kicking the G5 out. This reminded me and many others of the Super League that was proposed for European soccer several years ago, where your top programs or your top teams, your top clubs from the Premier League and from the Bundesliga and Ligue 1 and the various others.
The biggest European club teams, the ones if you don't know soccer, like Manchester United and Real Madrid and the like.
They would split off from the Champions League, which already exists over there, and essentially create the Super League, where it's just all the richest clubs all playing each other, and fans rioted. And that's not overselling it. They literally rioted.
Yes,
Europe.
There were demonstrations in the streets, and it went from being announced to being completely squashed in 3 days.
So that's what happened over there. I don't think that would happen over here. And for what it's worth, I don't think this proposal is going to go through over here either, because I think the fact, at least as currently constructed, I don't think this is going to happen. Now, the reason this came up now is the NCAA is facing multiple lawsuits. I think at least one is in the Supreme Court right now, NCAA versus House. There's a couple lawsuits they are facing that could leave the NCAA as an organization on the hook for over $1 billion. And yes, that is billion with a B, possibly multiple billion with a B dollars in lawsuit fines and fees and penalties and whatnot that they would be facing from this. So the NCAA, to say they are going through an existential crisis, is probably underselling it by magnitudes at this point. This would kill college sports as we know it. And I don't usually like to say that, because people have said that about the transfer portal and about realignment and about name, image, and likeness rights in general. So I do not say that lightly from my perspective. But essentially telling all the big moneymakers, again, you're talking Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, the big dogs from the two most powerful conferences and a couple of teams from the ACC and the Big 12. You guys are allowed to play by different rules. You are allowed to directly compensate your athletes. Not everyone else is allowed to do that.
Well, anybody can is the idea, right? Like anybody can play by these rules. But if like the University of Texas, for example, the amount of money it would cost the University of Texas per year to abide by these rules, the money they would have to set aside to pay their student athletes, it's over $10 million.
Do you think, let's say, K-State's got that?
Probably not. Now, it would cost them less because they have fewer student athletes, but still, like, it would cost a substantial amount.
Do you think, let's go with an American program. You think East Carolina could afford to do that?
I do not.
What about an even smaller program? Let's go to the MAC. You think Toledo can afford to do that? No, absolutely not. Let's go. And again, you're talking about fewer athletes if you go to non-football schools. So we're talking either FCS football and Division I in general basketball, or even, a Marquette, a Gonzaga, programs that don't have football. I think those programs are going to be able to afford all of this, because some of those schools have a lot of sports teams. They just don't have football, but they've still got a bunch of athletes, men and women, that would be factored in here that you would essentially have to pay for. This is going to create, or this would create, let me phrase it like that, because it's not in effect. It has just been proposed. To me, this creates an even bigger gap between the haves and the have-nots. This would push us even closer to what I feel more and more every year is going to be an inevitable split between the most powerful and best programs in the Big Ten and the SEC and everyone else. And I think it's more likely we get college sports super league where you pick the top 10 teams and those. Because honestly, if this all happened, you think Mississippi State's going to get in the club?
No.
You think Vandy is getting, especially if academics matter less and less and less? You think Vandy's getting invited to that party? You think Illinois is getting invited to that party? Hell no.
So this goes back to what we were talking about, what I was saying on Monday, in the wake of the college football playoff committee making the decision that they made and laying bare that what they have created is not any more valid a way to name a college football champion, a true champion, than hundreds of years of polling. I guess not hundreds, decades of polling was, or the Bowl Alliance or the Bowl Coalition, or even the Bowl Championship Series. It's no more or less legitimate than all the ways we used to crown champions. This just happens to be a better TV show. And that is why it exists. Because nobody has been in charge of college football all this time. The NCAA has been utterly feckless for all this time. And what this NIL proposal is the NCAA's last gasp at justifying its existence as the governing body that essentially runs the championships for every sport but football. But nobody's ever been in charge in college football. And into that power vacuum, as I was laying out on Monday, into that power vacuum stepped the network executives at ESPN, Fox, CBS, all of those places. That's who's in charge of college football. And they don't see decades and decades, 150 plus years of tradition and rivalry and anything like that. What they see is a TV show, something to put on the air on Saturday that millions of people watch and that they can sell a lot of advertising for. And it's good business for them. So you talk about the inevitability of a college football super league. Oh, 100%. That's happening. The end game for all of this is that college football becomes its own entity and that the top 20 or 30 programs in college football splinter and play each other on Saturdays in a structure that will look familiar to us because it's going to be like the NFL. There are going to be two divisions. There are going to be playoffs based on record, seeded based on record. And at the end, we'll have ourselves a college football Super Bowl between the best team in one division and the best team in another division, because the network executives know that we're going to watch it. And we will. We'll watch, the CBS doubleheader of Michigan, Oregon, and Ohio State, Penn State. We'll watch the ABC, ESPN triple header with Florida State playing Clemson and LSU playing Alabama and, I don't know, USC playing Texas. Like, we will watch those games, and they will make those schools a lot of money, and they will make those networks a lot of money. But that is the future of big-time college football. And if you're not one of those 20 to 30 programs, and I don't know that any of them currently are in the Big 12 as it moves forward to their 16-team future, then what you are playing is no longer the highest level of college football.
No, I mean, it's just minor league football. That's what it is. It's a developmental league for the NFL at that point.
And you know what? That's okay. Like, it's okay not to play football at the highest level of football. It is. It's fine. It's just you have different access to the television time. You have different access to players. You have different access to a championship structure. And it might feel a little more sane. You might be able to maintain some of the more regional connections that were what college sports really were founded upon hundreds of years ago. But that's, at the end of the day, where this is all going. That college football players at the 20 to 30 biggest programs in America will be compensated by their schools as employees and will play against each other in a regular season and playoff system that will mimic, essentially, it'll be a shorter version of the NFL season. And that's what it's going to be. And it didn't have to get here, but this is what happens when nobody's in charge. And what ends up happening is the money, you follow the money.
So if it just turned into college football becomes its own thing, that college football at that level is no longer governed by the NCAA, that becomes its own thing. That becomes the Collegiate Football Athletic Alliance. That's the CFAA. And they're going to go off and do their own thing with 30 to 40 teams. And everyone else, let's say everybody else, and they bring up Division 1, 2, and everyone gets mixed all together, and you just have a new look NCAA. And it's most of the teams that are in the Big 12 now, and most of the ACC, and all the G5, and all the FCS teams. And you just sort of, it's a melange of things, and maybe you split it up again. You have a big playoff, whatever. I could live with that. In fact, I think in terms of the teams that we follow and we cover, and at least that I care about, I can live with that. I can. I really could. Here's the problem, though. What's keeping it just a football? Think about what Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, has said about the NCAA basketball tournament in recent years.
That sure does make a lot of people a lot of money, and it could make the bigger schools more money if they shut out everyone else. We love Cinderella. You know who doesn't? The 8th place team in the SEC who doesn't get in the tournament because they have to give an auto bid to the America East champion.
And 2, things like the NCAA tournament units, the money you get for playing in and winning NCAA tournament games, that's not your money. KU, for winning the national championship, went 6 rounds. They got 6 units. That's not exactly how it works, but for the sake of, the explanation here, those were not all dollars that went back to KU. That money went to the Big 12 and then is split up amongst Big 12 members. Well, we were just saying Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, probably those teams aren't getting invited to the party. Well, shoot, why should Alabama, now that they're winning a lot in basketball, why should they share their money with Mississippi State basketball? Why should they do that? Why shouldn't they be giving money to either just themselves or to programs on equal footing? That is, and I know this is slippery slope stuff, and that's a dangerous road to go down.
But that's the road we're going down. And if you don't like it as a college football fan, take some cues from our friends across the pond. Get out in the streets and say something about it. I don't literally mean like block traffic and have like a 1,000,000-man march except for saving college football. But I also kind of do mean that, because that did make a difference in scotching something that was going to make the owners of the biggest soccer clubs in Europe buckets and buckets of money. They realized in the end that who they serve is you. They serve the fans. And they backed off. And at the end, college athletics serves you, the fan, you, the alumni, you who went to that school and developed that attachment, or grew up in that college town and developed that attachment to that team. And if your attachment to that is threatened by what appears to be the coming new order of things in college athletics, say something about it.
We've got to get to a timeout. We've got What Is Wrong With You? Not Sean McDermott. We already got to him. But we've got other What Is Wrong With You stories coming up in just a moment. Plus, we'll hear from both Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy coming up a little bit later on this hour. All that and more is coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. Wrong With You time here on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you. Our current winner for this week in What Is Wrong With You is the quiet quitter kidnapper, guy who was a inmate transport driver down in, was this in Florida? Yes, indeed it was. And he was traveling in North Carolina. This is a man from Florida. He was in North Carolina with a coworker in the passenger seat and 4 inmates in the back. And in the middle of a drive transporting prisoners, he just thought, I'm done. I'm done with this. So he got off his route and he just drove away. No longer doing his job anymore. Eventually, he was apprehended, and because he had 5 other people in the car during this harebrained scheme, he ended up getting charged with 5 counts of felony kidnapping.
Plus the felony theft of the vehicle.
Yes, larceny as well.
Felony larceny.
Yeah, really real smart guy here.
Most of us, if we've ever left a job, have managed to do so without getting tagged for half a dozen felonies on our way out. But
Generally.
this guy's just built different.
What Is Wrong With You, as always, is brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. They cut the metal you need to your specifications. That saves you time, money, and material. So never settle when it comes to metal with Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field, right here in the capital city. Dan, I believe it is your turn to go first today.
It is my turn to go first. We are going to Genoa Township, Michigan, where it was Shop with a Cop Day at Walmart. You familiar with the concept of this?
Yeah.
Shop with a Cop Day. So police officers partner with children whose families may not be able to afford much during the holiday season. Michigan State Police Lieutenant Renee Gonzalez told Fox 2 Detroit, "We bring children that might not otherwise have a good Christmas to get to come to the store. They get $100, sometimes a $150 gift card to go and shop for themselves and their family." As you can probably imagine, that would be a situation where there would be a lot of police officers present at the Walmart. And you might think to yourself, that would be a bad time to try to do some shoplifting. But a 62-year-old Michigan woman thought, nah, this is the opportunity to commit the perfect crime. And a woman packed a cart with about $730 worth of goods and ran through the self-checkout while there were police all over the store. The 62-year-old woman walked out with a variety of items, including groceries and clothes, without paying. A trooper, one of approximately 75 who were at the Walmart at the time, followed the woman to the parking lot and spotted her loading the stolen goods into her car, which was parked next to a police cruiser. Police said the woman was arrested and taken to the Livingston County Jail. She bonded out, but will be charged with retail fraud. The woman's identity was not immediately released. Gonzalez said, "I do have to say it surprised me because when I'm driving a patrol car, people slow down. When you see 75 cops in a store, I mean, I don't know if maybe they thought we were too busy." They'll never suspect a thing.
No chance of that.
Their hands are full. So are mine with stolen goods.
With stuff I stole, right? Oh, my God. That is ridiculous. Funny enough, I also have a story about Christmas gift theft today, or Christmas gift crimes. We are headed to Lehigh Acres, Florida for my story, where a mother is now facing charges after she allegedly filed a false police report claiming that Christmas gifts were stolen from her home. We meet 39-year-old Shanna Hudson, who has been charged with 1 count of making a false report. Now, Hudson originally claimed in November that someone had broken into her Lehigh Acres home and stole all of the Christmas gifts that she had just bought for her children.
Bro, this is a Simpsons episode. Keep going.
However, it turns out that Hudson allegedly had the gifts the entire time. An anonymous tipster called the Southwest Florida Crime Stoppers and told them that Hudson was storing the gifts at a family member's house. When deputies went to check on Monday evening, they found all of the gifts that were reported stolen. NBC2 in Florida interviewed Hudson on November 20th when she said someone had broken into her home through a back window and then stole all the gifts. Quote, 8 fishing poles. They took some clothes because I bought clothes for my 5 kids. I wanted my kids to have pretty much a decent Christmas, but now they ain't going to have Christmas at all because some thief came and stole our bleep. That evening, she pleaded with whoever stole the presents to bring them back. Quote, turn yourself in and bring us back our stuff so me and my kids can have a good Christmas, she said. But on Monday, while following up on the anonymous tip, deputies found nearly all of the gifts at one of her relatives' homes. TVs tucked under bed sheets, fishing poles stashed in piles of clothes and nestled behind the dryer, and a basket full of Bath and Body Works. Lee County deputies compared what they found to the list of quote-unquote stolen items and marked off nearly every single one. The TV station was there and had cameras on Hudson as she was led by deputies to jail. She would not answer any more questions.
This is literally season 9, episode 10 of The Simpsons, Miracle on Evergreen Terrace, where Bart burns down the Christmas tree and all of the presents melt into like one big like disc, and he buries it under the snow. And the news reporters come and they make a whole big story out of it, so that they do like a It's a Wonderful Life kind of thing, where the whole town comes and gives them their money, and they buy a new car and immediately wreck it. And then Bart confesses that he ruined Christmas, and then the whole town finds out, and everybody's really mad. some great lines from that from that episode.
That's what back end of the like the peak era of The Simpsons.
Yeah, season 9 is generally recognized as like the end of like peak Simpsons. I thinking about when the family knows but the news media doesn't, that it's a scam, and Homer saying something like, "Hello, jerk. We don't know who you are, and we should probably all stop looking, but one thing is for sure, you do exist."
So those are our two stories today. We've got the woman who lied about the presents being stolen while they were hidden at a relative's house. By the way, anonymous tipster, this was a family member, right? Like, she must have pissed off her sister or something.
Had to have been.
Or the woman who, while in a Walmart full of 75 police officers, tried to shoplift over $600 worth of goods.
In my long career, I've seen some pretty shabby things, but this putrid fraud outstinks them all.
This putrid fraud. That's a great story. A great line.
Barney Gumble saying, "Jesus must be spinning in his grave."
All right, who you got for today?
Oh my God. No, man. Like, I really liked my story. I thought stealing at the shop with the cop day at Walmart was going to be hard to beat. But this woman literally reenacted the plot of a Simpsons episode, and that is always going to win for me. In fact, I give Shanna Hudson the nod for the week.
For the week?
For the week.
I need another detail because I want to know who the anonymous tipster was. Because the fact that it appears a family member ratted her out makes it that much funnier. So I'm going to go with you. That is our new winner for the week. What was the Simpsons episode? The Miracle on Evergreen Terrace?
Miracle on Evergreen Terrace.
That's our winner today.
You know what I blame this on the breakdown of? Society.
What is Wrong with You is brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. Metal cut to order when you need it. That's Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard. We'll hear from Spags and Nagy coming up next on 580 Sports Talk. 4:43 on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan joining you. And now we'll be joined by Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs. He spoke earlier on this afternoon. Let's take a listen into what Spags had to say today.
The challenge with maybe the run game a little bit earlier in games these past 2 weeks.
Yeah, I tell you what, it comes back. We've talked extensively about this week. Sometimes I'm not so sure we hone in on that part of it early, and I'd like us to do that, because first and second down has really been, like, if you look at it, has been more of a problem for us than maybe third down. We only got them to 10 third downs last week. If you count the fourth down, it would have been 11, those kind of situations. And that's not enough. I mean, you got to get teams into 15, 16, 17, 18 third downs, and then hopefully you win in 12 or 13 of them. That didn't happen. So that part of it has been a main focus. Joe's been all over it. Brendan, the upfront people, it's all 11 guys. I'd like us to see us play better. When you pull them all out and you look at the ones that are going for longer yardage than you really want to, everybody's playing a part in it. It's not just one guy or one person, and so everybody needs to clean it up.
Potentially with a cast, what kind of boost can Nick Bolton provide in that regard?
Well, I tell you what, he boosts me because I mean that, like, he's an energy giver. I know the guys feel that in the huddle. We've had a day, Tuesday, where we do a little walkthrough. Yesterday, where it's he's just, everybody knows what he's all about and what he brings and how he communicates. And you'd have to ask him a little bit more exactly. He knows where he's at with all that. But we trust the trainers and Nick on that.
Steve, with the last two games, the starts where teams have had touchdowns, anything you're trying to address with the team, you try to alleviate that, because the first 10 games you didn't have much of that?
No, I know it. We went from one extreme to the other, it feels like, right? And listen, we say it all the time. We want our quarterback to play from ahead, or we don't want him to be playing from behind. We don't want our offense doing that. So there's been a focus on that, or it's time. I mean, how much can you really focus on it, right? I mean, we just got to line up, buckle it up, put the chin strap on, and go out there in the first series and get something done. Now, I will say this: offenses are, we all know they script plays, right? So they're pretty good on those first 15. We've got a lot of teams that we play. This team's really good at it. If we can win that first series and keep some points off the board, I think that helps our whole team.
Steve, you're known for playing just a variety of coverages in the back end. Obviously, a very good group in the dime personnel, but is there less that you can do without Brian Cook, or how much does Brian Cook's absence change the equation?
Well, we'll miss Brian, because I think he did a lot of good. The things that stick out, a couple of plays that stick out for me and Brian, I keep going, we've talked about this before, that play in the Jet game where he's made some open field tackles that are really important. We need the guys that go in there for him to do the same thing. I think we're really fortunate in having Mike Edwards, because Mike will be the guy that will fill in there for Brian. And Mike's a cerebral guy that has picked up the defense really well. Even when he's in there, you guys see he's been rotated in there a little bit more, and that's a compliment to him. So hopefully we don't skip a beat from the standpoint of how we function with the chemistry, and we got kind of trust in Mike to do that.
With the offensive coordinator only having 2 games under his belt, how do you navigate what their tendencies were versus what they were?
Not easy. We'll lean on the 2 games that he has called. I don't think they've strayed too far from what they do. I mean, the quarterback is still the quarterback. I think all good coordinators, and Joe's a good one, will have the quarterback doing the things he's comfortable with. You can kind of see some of those things on tape, so I don't think they'll stray too far.
Josh Allen, Brian Gibby, you've seen a lot of different quarterbacks that can run.
Yeah.
How is he one of the better ones? Is his passing skills make him tougher to defend because he's pretty good?
It's hard to bring down. He's such a big dude. I mean, I can't find too many clips on there when he scrambles that he slides. He turns into a fullback, really. I think he's an elite competitor. Every time you go against him, I mean, even when you hear him on the sideline, that, to me, that elevates him. And the threat that he has, being a pocket passer and throwing it as a strong arm quarterback and getting out of the pocket, extending it down, he's always looking downfield. And I know I put a PowerPoint up yesterday. You can check this, but he scrambling and then throwing it, how many passing yards? I think it was over 400. It's like 483 or something. I think it's the best in the league. So that speaks volumes to what you're talking about. And he can tuck it and run it too.
Is it difficult, just kind of
You mentioned about splitting up into groups during the walkthroughs in 2 groups. I'm assuming that's where Jack Cochran would get most of the is the middle. So how much does that help you?
I think, you could ask Jack, but I think those guys find that really valuable. You know, we always say be on the sideline, get mental reps. I mean, you got to do that if you're not out there. But there's nothing like standing out there and actually doing it. And yeah, we're lucky. We got a bunch of managers and scouts and people that help us all the time. The doc's out there, Sean's out there all the time. You just need a body, right, to say they're doing this. And our guys are great. I mean, they love doing it. I yell at them once in a while to do it right.
Steve, how much does first down success rate for the offense and the eye discipline come into effect, or does it get even more magnified when a team like the Packers does play action?
Yeah, well, I mean, the play action part of it is, listen, that when an offense puts a play action pass in, they're trying to mess with your eyes. They're trying to show you one thing and have it be something else. So you've got to find something in your film study, and this is what we spend a lot of time on. High hats, low hats in the O-line, you know. Get your eyes out on wideouts. If they're not blocking somebody, might be a pass. You know, I mean, there's little things like that. If all you do is stare at the quarterback, and this is where sometimes guys get in trouble, that he's going to get you in trouble because he's the guy making it look like a run, or, you know, making it look like they have draw that pops back to be a pass. Or you have to play defensive football with your eyes. Our side of the ball is all reactionary, right? You got to make sure you're reacting to the right thing. So we're giving them all week long things that they should be looking at pre-snap, when the ball is snapped, and then go play.
That's Steve Spagnuolo speaking earlier today. What about on the offensive side of the ball? Let's hear from Chiefs OC, Matt Nagy.
You know, I think that it's one of those mentalities that we always say. It's a cliche that you know, next man up goes that direction. And I think that room has done a good job. That's one of the things, building depth in that room. When you have that, it's always nice to have. So, I mean, you know, Pops has been phenomenal for us all year. You can see, you know, he brings that energy, that physicality, you know, really starting to become that leader as well. So, you know, the other guys in that room have done a really good job all year long of just really starting to complete that room with joining him, doing all the stuff we ask, and it's got to be the next man up mentality.
We're talking about potential here, so you know, we'll see. But what's the challenge of a former first rounder kind of getting a role can dial back and then having to maybe come in and be that guy again?
That's these guys being professionals. I think they should prep like that every single week. You just never know when your opportunity is going to come, and so whether it's in the beginning of the week or middle of the week, so you can get some practice reps, or sometimes, and a lot of times for the quarterback, it's in the spur of the moment type deal. So it's your job as a professional to always prepare the right way. And then when you have that opportunity, and Clyde and these other guys in there, you know, Clyde's a vet, so he understands that, he gets it.
What are you seeing from Clyde lately? Just his opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, I think his speed looks good as far as his running between the tackles. He's been really, really good, even mentally when you go through a transition or you go through what he's been through the last couple of years. I think for him, he's been a really good mentor and leader in the room. It starts there, and then when you get on the field, when given opportunities, he's trying to make the most of it, and that's what I respect the most about him. And you know, in these situations, the running back position gets hit quite a bit. So if you have an injury or you have somebody the next man up, you want to have a guy like Clyde that's ready.
How has Nae'Qwan been coming up along?
Pretty good. Yeah, he's been doing well. He's a quiet kid, so there's I think he just kind of takes it all in. And when we jump in and out of the running back meeting rooms, he's in there, always locked in. And this is again for him a great opportunity to. Kind of like Rasheed when he got in here, everything was very fast. And so it was like that for Nae'Qwan too. And he's not getting the game reps that Rasheed has, but the mental reps, seeing how practice goes, how meetings go. And he looks good. He looks fresh.
You guys always talk about being on the same, the receiver, quarterback being on the same page. It's obviously option routes. Mm-hmm. How many options are you? You think of the old option football. We got fullback dive, we got the pitch, the quarterback. There's three options. When you do those option routes, how many different options are there for the receiver to take that the quarterback and receiver have to work through?
Are you talking run game or pass game?
Pass game, like a quarterback receiver when he has it.
Yeah, sure. In the route, there's several of those. You know, at different times, different positions, different areas of the field, whether it's boundary or field, and those are some of the ones that take feel and time and reps when you get into that. So I think what we got to do is, as a staff, value the amount of time, reps, and feel that these guys have. And that's.
But are there 3 options, 5 options?
Oh, in the one route?
Yeah.
It depends what offense you're in and what your rules are. Everyone's different.
And then I think you guys would call them a crossing route. Defenses would call it a pick route, right? Like when you do those kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Like a little mesh route.
Yeah. How important is it when you're going to focus on that? Is the guy who's coming across to make sure he creates traffic? Yeah,
you want to be able to. Again, there's a little bit of a feel. There is every defensive look is different, so it's kind of understanding that. There's a lot that goes into that kind of stuff. Whether it is crossers with mesh routes, everyone does them. It's how you do them. There's rules within that and what you can and can't do. So I think a lot of times in the off season, you touch on a lot of that stuff and detail it. When you get to the game, you see what the defense does, and then you work through that.
So that's Matt Nagy, Chiefs offensive coordinator, speaking a little bit earlier on today as well. Anything interesting really stand out to you? I mean, the big note from this week was Andy Reid getting a little testy yesterday and saying, yeah, we lost, but look how much better the offense is. I'm not sure Matt Nagy could have really elevated that statement at all.
I thought it was interesting right off the bat what Spagnuolo had to say about, hey, we got to pay better attention to detail on first and second down.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's really what's hurt them, particularly early in games, is they are giving teams third and manageable far too often. So if it feels like the Chiefs pass rush hasn't made as big an impact in the last couple of weeks, that's right. And the reason that's right is because it's hard to tee off as a pass rush group if you're 3rd and 3, if you're 3rd and 4. A little easier when you're 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. But if you want to get teams to 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, you got to win first down. You got to win second down. And the Chiefs haven't been really good on those downs the last couple of weeks. And it's contributed to teams moving the ball against them and putting the Chiefs behind the 8 ball in games, giving up touchdowns on the first 2 drives of last week's game and 2 of the first 3 drives against the Raiders. That's got to stop. Chiefs defense is good. We know this, but they got to be good for 60 minutes, and they really got to be good for the first 15. Set a bit of a different tone on Sunday against Buffalo.
Before we get to the national news at the top of the hour, it's a great time to tell you that the most cheerful event of the year returns for another season, bigger and brighter than ever. Zoo Lights, presented by Evergy at the Topeka Zoo, is a treasured twinkling Topeka tradition. Create memories and traditions at Zoo Lights. You can go find tickets on sale right now at topekazoo.org. We've got to get to the news and then our final hour of the program coming up right here on 580 Sports Talk.
Let's get it. Final hour of the day here on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero here with you, and I'm flying it solo the rest of the way. We shed cast members like feathers on this particular day here on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan Dworzinski's off to Skinny's Sports Bar and Grill here in the capital city for tonight's Washburn basketball coaches show. That can be heard from 6 to 7 tonight over on our sister station, Classic Country 106.9. So you're stuck with me the rest of the way. We've got one more hour of 580 Sports Talk here. And however you're listening, whether it's on AM 580, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, or on the YouTube stream. Hi, folks. YouTube.com/@580 Sports Talk. However you're tuned in, appreciate you being along for the ride here on the program. In this final hour, we're going to have Mitch Holthus join us in about 30 minutes or so. We'll get Mitch's health update. First and foremost, we want to know how Mitch is doing and how he is feeling after he had to miss Sunday's broadcast in Green Bay. And, of course, we'll get all of his thoughts and some great nuggets, I'm sure, relating to the Chiefs matchup with the Bills on Sunday. Way less juice to Chiefs-Bills than I think any of us would have anticipated there being when we first saw the schedule and when the season began. This felt like one of 3 games towards the end of the season after the bye for the Chiefs that were going to be these titanic showdowns. And Chiefs-Eagles was that a couple of Mondays ago, but Chiefs-Bengals isn't that anymore. Even if both teams have something to play for, that game's obviously lost some luster, and it kind of feels like Chiefs-Bills has too. This doesn't feel like last year's regular season meeting or any of the other meetings. That this will be the 6th time these two teams have played since 2020. And you have the 2 playoff matchups in there, of course, and 4 regular season games. And it just doesn't feel quite the same. I think a big reason for that is how much the Bills have struggled. But there's still lots on the line for both teams. So we will get Mitch's thoughts on those things and get some great information, some nuggets of the night from Mitch when he joins us here in about a half hour or so on this final hour of the program. But we start the final hour, as we always do, with our 580 Sports Talk headlines. And we began with the new offensive coordinator for the Kansas Jayhawks. His name is Jeff Grimes. He is a coaching veteran with 30 years of experience. He has coached in over 15 bowl games, which is a weird thing. Why not just be specific in the press release? How many bowl games? More than 15. That's a weird number. Like, why not just say 16 or 17 or however many it is? A 2-time finalist for the Frank Broyles Award, which goes to the nation's top assistant coach, and he managed that feat in back-to-back years, in 2020 as the offensive coordinator at BYU, and in 2021 as the offensive coordinator at Baylor. Grimes spent the last 3 years at Baylor. He was fired at the end of this past season, and that may color your perception of this offensive coordinator hire for the Jayhawks, where you think, boy, when last we saw Jeff Grimes' offense, it wasn't very good. And it was for a team that wasn't very good. But 2 years ago, Jeff Grimes coordinated an offense that won the Big 12. And the year before that, in 2020, and if this doesn't impress you, I don't know what will, Jeff Grimes got Zach Wilson drafted number 2 overall. That would personally, if I were Jeff Grimes, that would be line number 1 on my resume. I got Zach Wilson paid. That would be what I would tell people. You going to interview me? What's the most impressive thing you've done in your career? Yeah, I got Zach Wilson drafted 2nd overall. The same Zach Wilson you've seen unable to tell his elbow from a hole in the ground the last 3 years with the New York Jets. Yeah, that guy was so good in my offense. He was a number 2 pick in the draft. So those are certainly marks in Grimes's favor. Grimes has also been an offensive line coach in his time as a college assistant. He has had 17 linemen he has coached go on to play in the NFL. He was also the tight ends coach at Baylor. He will be the offensive coordinator and an assistant head coach in Lawrence. Lance Leipold, in the press release, says, "We're excited to welcome Jeff, his wife Sherry, and 4 children, Bailey, Jada, Garrison, and Graydon, to Lawrence. Jeff is a coach with a lot of experience and is a great relationship builder, football mind, and a high-quality person. He will be a great fit with our staff and offensive philosophy and is an exciting addition. Jeff Grimes' comment in the press release: my family and I are thrilled to join the KU program and be a part of what Coach Leipold and his staff are building in Lawrence. I've admired Kansas football over these last few years, and it has been impossible to ignore the momentum behind the program. That momentum doesn't happen without strong alignment among tremendous people committed to a common goal. I get fired up just thinking about the opportunity to coach these talented players, and I can't wait to get started. Rock chalk. So Grimes comes into the program without any previous ties to Lance Leipold, without any previous ties to the Sunflower State. He's a UTEP grad, played his football there. Most of his early coaching was in the state of Texas. He was a high school coach there, coached at Rice, Texas A&M, Hardin-Simmons, which is a Division III school. Then he started to branch out. He has worked for the following head coaches: Dirk Ketter, Dan Hawkins, Bronco Mendenhall, Frank Beamer, Gene Chizik. He was the offensive line coach for the national champions at Auburn in 2010 under Chizik. Les Miles, he was offensive line coach and run game coordinator at LSU. And he went to BYU under Kalani Sitake, spent the last 3 years under Dave Aranda. So it's an interesting background. My understanding, and this is from information from Michael Swain, our Jayhawk source from fog.net, is that Grimes wasn't doing a ton of recruiting for Baylor and will probably be asked to perform a similar role on the staff as Andy Kotelnicki as it pertains to recruiting, where that wasn't, like, Kotelnicki wasn't like the closer, so to speak. He wasn't somebody that they sent out on the road and made the point man on a lot of recruiting. But Swain also says that schematically, this is a fit with what Kansas has been under Andy Kotelnicki, in the sense that the running concepts, the run game concepts that we've seen Kansas have success with are very similar to what Jeff Grimes wants to run. And that's a good start. Now, a lot of what made Kotelnicki special was his creativity, the things that he could pull out of his bag of tricks. What does Jeff Grimes' bag of tricks looks like? That remains to be seen. But he is the new offensive coordinator at the University of Kansas. So Lance Leipold goes outside the program to hire his new OC. K-State has not announced who their new OC will be. There are persistent rumors that Connor Riley will be promoted from offensive line coach to offensive coordinator, at least for the bowl game. But there has been no official hire or official naming of even an interim offensive coordinator to this point. So that's our first headline. Let's continue on with a couple of more local notes, or notes of local interest. The baseball hot stove, it's sizzling. Watch your hands. You might get burned. The Juan Soto trade went through last night. New York Yankees add the power-hitting outfielder, one of the best hitters in baseball. And, oh, by the way, Juan Soto is younger than Ronald Acuna Jr., who won the National League MVP this last year. Yankees get a year of Juan Soto for 5 players. They also got Trent Grisham from San Diego in the deal. That was made official last night. The Royals are not making moves of that level of importance. But they did today sign 4 players to 2024 minor league contracts, 3 pitchers, right-handers Dan Altavilla and Tyler Duffy, and left-hander Sam Long, and infielder Mike Brasso. Of the 4, I can tell you that Brasso is the most interesting of the group as the lone position player. He can play anywhere on the infield and the corners of the outfield, anywhere but shortstop. He's seen major league time at first base, second base, third base, left field, right field, and DH. And for his career is a slightly above average hitter over 5 big league seasons spanning 241 games and 647 plate appearances. Brasso's career OPS plus, according to Baseball Reference, is 104, with 100 being league average. he's been 4% better than league average in his career. His best season was the COVID-shortened 2020 year, where in 36 games for Tampa Bay, he hit .302 with a .936 on-base plus slugging. In 2022, in 69 games with the Milwaukee Brewers, he hit .255 with a .762 OPS, but really stumbled last year and only appeared in 29 games as the Brewers shuttled him back and forth between AAA and the bigs. Hit just .205 with a .654 OPS. Does have 26 career home runs, a .428 career slugging percentage, and I think has a legitimate chance to win a job as a corner bench bat for the Royals in 2024. The other three guys are veteran relief pitchers. Tyler Duffy was really good for a few years with Minnesota, but last year only appeared in 2 big league innings with the Chicago Cubs, spent most of the year at AAA. He'll be 33 next year, so the sun might have set on Duffy's career as an effective big league reliever, but he was one once, and the Royals may try and get more of that out of him. Dan Altavilla came up with the Mariners, hasn't pitched a big league game for 2 years. Sam Long has seen time the last 3 seasons with San Francisco and Oakland. He survived a season with the A's last year. That ought to make him eligible for sainthood, if not the 26-man Royals roster next year. Also, tough break for Sam Long. Hey, you're leaving the A's, the worst team in baseball in 2022 or 2023. Who am I going to play for next? How about the Royals? How about the second worst team? But there is somebody at least answering the phones at One Royal Way and bringing some players into the organization. I was going to say bringing some talent into the organization. That descriptor might be a bit of a stretch, but that is the move for the Royals. Do have a question from Mark on the YouTube comments regarding the Juan Soto trade, which again was made official pretty late last night. Do I think Juan Soto will fit good with the Yankees? I think Juan Soto would fit good with anybody. I think you put him on any team, and I think he's going to rake. I think he's one of the best young hitters. The young qualifier really isn't necessary. He's one of the best hitters, period, in baseball. And with that short porch at Yankee Stadium, I would expect him to set a career high in home runs. He hit 35 of them last year. I think he's not going to double it, but he could absolutely hit 40, 50 home runs next year, playing half of his games at Yankee Stadium. It's a great, great addition for the Yankees, who were pretty punchless offensively last year. And now they had one of the best hitters in baseball. So, it's a really good fit, unfortunately, for those who are not big Yankee fans. Here's some happy Royals news for you. Alex Gordon is going into the College Baseball Hall of Fame. The class of 2023 was announced recently, and Gordon, who was the Baseball America College Player of the Year in 2005 with the University of Nebraska, was named a member of the class. There are 12 individuals going into the College Baseball Hall of Fame in the class of 2023. Names you might know include I believe he was a former Yankee outfielder, Steve Kemp, who was a star at USC. Ron Darling, longtime Major League pitcher, currently on the Mets broadcast, pitched most notably with the Mets. He was a two-way star at Yale. And also Pat Casey, who coached Oregon State to the first 2 of what are, I believe, 3 all-time national champions when Oregon State went back-to-back, back when they had Jacoby Ellsbury, those guys. Pat Casey was the coach there. Chris Bando, too, is a name that might ring some bells for some older listeners. He was a star at Arizona State. That is just a selection of the College Baseball Hall of Fame class of 2023, and that class includes Alex Gordon. So congratulations to Gordo. Let's move on to the big, big, big national sports news that is happening right now. Like, this is live on Fox News right this second. Jon Rahm is leaving the PGA Tour and signing a lucrative multi-year contract with the Live Golf Tour, the Saudi-backed competitor to the PGA Tour that will enter its 3rd year of existence in 2024. Jon Rahm is the reigning Masters champion and one of the best golfers in the world. The 29-year-old has won 20 times around the world. He is the first European player in history to win both a Masters and a U.S. Open. He was U.S. Open champ back in 2021. He also has helped Europe to victory in the most recent Ryder Cup. He's number 3 in the current world rankings. And today he is announcing that he is joining the Live Golf Tour. The rumors are anywhere between $300 to $600 million is changing hands here. So it's probably somewhere in the middle there. Reports also from ESPN that it is a 3-year contract, and that along with it, Rahm will get an ownership stake in one of the franchises, the teams that form the backbone of the Live Golf competition. Jon Rahm had previously been very outspoken about not wanting anything to do with Live Golf. He has previously said that the money doesn't move him. A quote from him from the U.S. Open last year. We started talking about it and we're like, will our lifestyle change if I got $400 million? No, it will not change one bit. I've never really played the game of golf for monetary reasons. I play for the love of the game. I want to play against the best in the world. I've always been interested in history and legacy, and right now the PGA Tour has that. He also previously in August of this year said, I laugh when people rumor me with Live Golf. I never liked the format. I always have a good time with Phil Mickelson and Sergio Garcia, both Live players, in the practice rounds of majors. Phil respects my decision, and I respect his. Mickelson has told me that I have no reason to go play for Live, and he has told me that multiple times. Those quotes look a lot funnier in the light today. Now, there's also something else going on, rather seismic in the world of golf. As merger talks continue between the Public Investment Fund of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which bankrolls Live Golf, and Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour. You may recall that earlier this summer, there were talks of a merger between the two entities, creating a new, basically, umbrella corporation company investment that would be in charge of professional golf. The deadline for negotiations is December 31st. And the PIF has jumped the line by saying, yeah, you might want to get in bed with us because we just took maybe the best player on your tour. And perhaps that's part of Jon Rahm's calculations, is understanding that the schism between the PGA Tour and Live cannot continue forever. It's not tenable. It will kill professional golf if it hasn't done a great deal to wound it already. And maybe Jon Rahm's calculation is, well, if a deal gets done between the PGA Tour, the Jay Monahan side, and the PIF, Live Golf will get folded into the PGA Tour. I'll be able to compete where I want to compete. But here's this fat check I can cash right now. Let me go get this check. Even if it's only for 1 year, I would like to cash this check. And if that were the case, I really couldn't blame him. Rahm is the highest profile defection to the Live Golf Tour over its 2+ years of existence. Previous defectors had certainly had similar success, major championship success, but were either players on, let's call it the back nine of their careers, like Phil Mickelson, or players that weren't all that popular for a variety of reasons. Players like Brooks Koepka, Patrick Reed, guys like that. Jon Rahm, beloved on the PGA Tour. So for him to leave the PGA Tour is a big honking deal, and it's not good for professional golf. None of this has been good. And the end game result for professional golf, if this schism between the PGA Tour and the PIF bought Live Golf, is that nobody cares about either tour. Like, the TV ratings for Live are abysmal. They've got tons of big names, but nobody's watching it. The PGA Tour's TV ratings are still good, but the quality of the event is decreasing because they are losing talented and popular golfers to the other tour. So in the end, it's just the majors. That's the only chance you have to see both of the tours and their best players compete against each other. At the end, it makes golf like tennis, where the only reason to watch, the only time you ever want to actually pay attention to golf, professional golf, is the majors. And you don't really follow the week to week, the grind, the events. Can anybody even name a tennis event that isn't Wimbledon, the French, the Aussie, or the U.S. Opens? Can you name a stop on the ATP tour? If you are, you're a real tennis sicko. And at this point, it's only going to be the real golf sickos that know anything about the Memorial or the Honda Classic or the Bay Hill Arnie's tournament, the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Those are just not going to be as interesting because not all the best players are there, and it will only be the majors. But that appears to be where things are headed, at least in the short term. And in the long haul, you can't argue that the PIF doesn't hold now a very, very big card in their negotiations with the PGA Tour. And maybe the future of golf looks a lot less like what we've become accustomed to with the PGA and a lot more like what they're doing over in Live Golf. And if that's the future of competitive golf, you can count me out. That's our 580 Sports Talk headlines for the day. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, the latest as to what's going on at the K-State campus today. There was another gathering, another intended protest, and a real leader on K-State's campus stepped in to settle things down. We'll tell you who that was next here on 580 Sports Talk. the Chiefs. Hope that he will join us here shortly. Mitch joins us every Thursday here on 580 Sports Talk, thanks to our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. And we look forward to visiting with Mitch, inquiring about, first of all, how he's feeling after missing a game for the first time in 43 years on Sunday due to a COVID diagnosis. He did not feel comfortable making the trip with the team, and they were unable to come up with a solution to be able to have him broadcast. So we look forward to having Mitch join us. And I believe we do now have Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, on the air with us. Mitch, is that you?
Yeah, guten Abend. Yep.
All right. Great to have you on, Mitch, as always. And again, the first question I have for you, I think question a lot of people have for you, Mitch. How are you feeling?
Feeling 1 jillion times better than I was. It happened basically, it was early Friday morning. It hit me like a double A-gap blitz. And so I had tested positive early Friday morning. And the protocol for the team is, 5-day quarantine. So we spent the next 12 hours trying to figure out a way that I would do the game 2020 style, get a dirty feed, and be in my own little truck outside of Arrowhead Stadium doing the game, by myself, locked up in FaceTime with Dana and trying to figure it out. I mean, people were working like crazy for 12 hours. Then finally, no mas. It was a surrender at about this time Friday night, a week ago. And that's when it came to the realization that a 30-year, 503 NFL game streak halted, and basically in my career, 43 seasons of never missing a game. But feeling tons better. Thanks for Paxlovid, and we're ready to go. Fired up.
Well, we are certainly glad to hear that, Mitch. We are sending our best wishes for your continued recovery, and excited to hear you back behind the mic this Sunday as the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Buffalo Bills. Before we get there, though, the Chiefs coming off of a loss at Green Bay. 27-19 was the final on Sunday. And, I think that two things can be true about this Chiefs offense right now, Mitch. One is that it has certainly struggled and may not at this stage be able to quite reach the heights that we have seen the Chiefs offense reach over the last handful of years with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. But it does feel like the offense is at the same time improving. I want to ask about the run game in particular, with the Isaiah Pacheco coming off of a 100-yard game and with the Chiefs rushing for 6 yards a tote against Green Bay. Is this running attack looking as potent as maybe it has for the Chiefs in the last handful of years?
And it starts with the offensive line in that regard. I think you're fully utilizing then what those three interior offensive linemen, not that they can't pass block and that they can, be involved in space, but man, they're really good run blockers, all of them. And with Wanya Morris, truthfully, I'm kind of excited to watch him start this week. The video review I've had of him when he's filled in, including last week against Green Bay, wasn't perfect, but man, it's encouraging. And we've seen the future, I think, of the Chiefs at left tackle, but he's a really good run blocker. In fact, he's got an edge to him. Keep in mind, his mentor is Trey Smith. They were together at Tennessee. He considers Trey his big brother, and we all know what Trey's all about. So I think the offensive line becomes a crux of the discussion there. And then Pacheco, just the way he runs. One of the nuggets of the night is the fact that he's now accounted, Pacheco, for 58 first downs. That's third in the AFC. The only two ahead of him are Tyreek Hill and Travis Etienne. And it's tied for fourth in the entire National Football League. I think Christian McCaffrey might be ahead of him. But that just gives you an idea of the impact Pacheco has had and will have as the season progresses.
On the defensive side of the ball, certainly the Chiefs dug their heels in the second half against Green Bay and gave the Chiefs a chance to win that game all the way up through the final drive of the game. But now that's 2 weeks in a row where the Chiefs defense has struggled early in games and has put the team behind the 8 ball a little bit. They had to come back from the big deficit against the Raiders and ultimately were not able to come back from the 14-3 deficit against Green Bay. What has to change early in games for the Chiefs defense moving forward to get back to their best?
Well, it's almost like the discussion we had 2 or 3 weeks ago about the offense really laser focused on the first drive of the third quarter. And we saw the improvement with that in the Raider game, and it wasn't bad against Green Bay. But for the defense, it's actually winning on first down. If anybody sits around me for a game and they're listening to me, I'll say, win this down. You've got to win this down. And people are like, what are you talking about? It's not even a big deal. Yeah, no, it's a big deal. And it's especially a big deal against the Buffalo Bills. But look at the two. This Green Bay game was so reminiscent of the Denver game. And the Chiefs were very effective against Philadelphia because they basically won on first down. They did some contrived things to win on first down. And then they kind of lost their way against Green Bay. And I was just talking to Steve Spagnuolo today. The fact that Green Bay had their way on first down created real problems for the Chiefs second down, third down. That's one. Two, getting Nick Bolton back is huge. From a communication standpoint, if nothing else. To lose Drew Tranquil so early in that game, you lost your nerve center, and there were issues in the second half with communication and understanding, alignment. And so Jack Cochran did all he could, but you're talking, a drop-off from not only a standpoint of talent, but also of a standpoint of leadership and understanding and trying to navigate it. The third point is I think one of my bigger nuggets of the night is the fact that Spags just admitted, man, Green Bay had stuff we've never seen. They had pocketed stuff just for the Chiefs. Well, keep in mind, Green Bay had 10 days to prepare for Kansas City. If you remember when the schedule came out, and this was a comment back then, not now, because it sounds like an excuse, but the Chiefs are the first team in 35 seasons that will have 19 less days than their opponent to prepare for games after their bye week. So it's in the crux of the matter in December, just like now, where Buffalo's got 2 weeks to prepare for this game. And so think about what Andy Reid usually does after the bye. Another nugget is the Bills are 8-0 after the bye since 2015. That's number one in the league. And Sean McDermott is 6-0 after a bye. Well, what does that mean? That means Buffalo's going to pull some stuff out they haven't shown. So you need a veteran, a guy like Nick Bolton that's going, we haven't seen this, but here's how we're going to countermeasure it and do it within a matter of seconds. And that's why, nothing against Jack Cochran, he just hasn't seen enough NFL life. And with Bolton, even though he's not an old 10-year veteran, he's seen a lot of life and played big games. I think it'll be very helpful to have him back to see what secret stuff that Buffalo's going to throw at the Chiefs in this game that they haven't shown in a while.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk, sponsored by Azura Credit Union and Hy-Vee. Mitch joins us Thursdays throughout the Chiefs season here on 580 Sports Talk. It's the Bills who come to town, the sixth meeting between these two teams in 2020. And again, this feels paradoxical, but it feels like both of these things are true. It doesn't feel like there's as much buzz about this game because the Chiefs are 8-4, the Bills 6-6 outside the playoff picture right now. But also outside of the two playoff meetings, I'm not sure the stakes have ever been higher. The Bills absolutely in must-win territory the rest of the way, while the Chiefs might just well be in must-win territory if they want the 1 seed in the AFC. So it's an interesting dichotomy there that while this game maybe doesn't feel as massive as last year's regular season meeting did, which I believe was week 6, the stakes here could not be higher for both teams. What do you expect to see in the way of desperation and need to win from both of these teams on Sunday?
Well, I'll disagree with you and I'll agree with you all at the same time. The disagreement is that generally the discussions that I've been involved in this week have been that people do see the enormity of this game. The people that cover the National Football League closely have laid it out just like you did. That's where I'm going to agree with you, because on both accounts, this is a very important game. For the Bills, they're just a strange team this year, and I'll get to some nuggets that will lead to that. And for the Chiefs, the 1 seed is very much in play. when you get Trevor Lawrence hurt, I mean, he'll be back, but what's he going to be like? Is this going to be Mahomes' ankle? Because that was still a nasty ankle injury. Baltimore's got the toughest schedule of any team in the league remaining. We see that the Chiefs have tiebreakers here. If the Chiefs, 1, can win the division, 2, they're probably going to have to win out. But if they win out, they're going to be the 1 seed. I mean, it's going to be hard. I don't think Miami's done losing, and the Chiefs have the tiebreaker over them. So you're dead on with that. This has the feel of a playoff game, especially for the Buffalo Bills.
What does a Chiefs win on Sunday look like? What path do they need to follow to make sure that they keep a Bills team that has struggled, that has been uneven throughout the year? You always, it's an adage, I think, in every sport. You want to keep struggling teams struggling. How do the Chiefs keep the Bills struggling and attack what have been the weaknesses for this Bills team on Sunday at Arrowhead?
Well, one, it goes to winning on first down. Another one of your nuggets of the night is the fact that, I mean, Josh Allen's been a turnover machine. And 6 of his turnovers have been on the first snap of a series. Really weird. With a player that good. So I'm not sure what that means. I've got some other ones coming that pertain to Allen and his turnovers. But winning on first down, as I just mentioned, and then taking the ball away. Or can you get a 3-and-out? Easier said than done against Buffalo. Buffalo has the fewest 3-and-outs of any team in the league. Chiefs are second. But Buffalo also has only punted this year 28% of the time. They just don't punt. Now, when they do, they're not very good. They're at the bottom of the league. So you'd think hopefully you could gain some field position. But if you can turn them over just some, it doesn't have to be a 3-turnover game, but if you get 1 or 2, and then you can get them off the field once. Now I'm talking 3 possessions where those are the possessions where Buffalo's train comes off the track. I mean, this is a team that is 6-6, Buffalo, that's closer to 10-2 to me than 6-6. And here's one of your nuggets, and this just gets to my point. And this one didn't even involve the turnovers, but the Buffalo Bills are the first team, well, since the merger, AFL-NFL merger, 1970, which is usually the benchmark for a lot of these stats, because there's just some incomplete stats prior to that time in both leagues. But since the merger, there have been 40 teams that have had 500 offensive yards, 10 third-down conversions, and 1 the giveaway takeaway. 40. The record of those teams is 39-1. And the only team that lost to the Buffalo Bills when they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. Just, it's goofy. These guys, the Bills, have a plus 101 point differential with 6 losses. They are the first team in the Super Bowl era after 12 weeks to be plus 101 or more and have 6 losses. It's just crazy and bizarre what's happened to these guys. Now, they're explosive. That's the bad news for the Chiefs fans. But the good news is somehow, some way, the chemicals spill and they've got a campfire. And so you ask me how this works. To me, it's on the defense to steal a possession, maybe get a punt, 1, that's a big deal, and then get a couple of turnovers in this game, which can do. And sometimes Josh will just give you the ball. He's got a little Phillip Rivers in him here the last 3 years, and it's a big part of his game that he's got to get figured out or this thing won't go well for him the rest of the way, Josh Allen. And I like him. I think he's really good.
All right, Mitch, you've given us a lot of great nuggets already, but time to empty the chamber. If you've got a big nugget of the night for me or a couple of more nuggets, I want to hear them.
Oh, man. I think I might have used up all my ammo here. I really don't. Nothing else really comes to mind. I would. I think I've had more time to think, but that's a bunch there just with what I've given you. It's a bizarre game. It's just very bizarre. These two teams are in positions where, I mean, the Chiefs are 8-4, but how they got here is really weird. And then the same with the Bills, as I just laid out. I mean, they're just, I don't know why they're 6. I know why they're 6-6, but there's no reason it should be 6-6.
And maybe
something's not quite right with these guys.
Yeah, maybe ultimately that's what I meant. Instead of saying that, oh, there's not juice or there's not buzz to this matchup, maybe it's just a little bit of funk hanging over it as it pertains to how these teams got to where they are. It just feels like certainly it's been very disappointing in Buffalo, and there's a tinge of disappointment coming off of last week's loss for the Chiefs. But make no mistake about it, it's another AFC heavyweight fight, isn't it?
For sure. And I think that we're so biased toward offense for whatever reason. whether it's fantasy football or, hey, that's just what we like, that the fact that these two teams are usually humming along at 30 points a game. And these two quarterbacks still, even with the years they're having, are still 1-2 in NFL history. I guess there's your nugget. They're still 1-2 in NFL history in productivity as far as yards and points at this point in their career. And so you're looking at a Manning-Brady mid-2000s matchup still, but it's just not the stats. So it would be like Tom Brady having an off statistical year against Peyton Manning of the Colts having an off statistical year. That's what we've got with these two teams. But that does not mean that it doesn't have a heavy feel to it.
They tend to be great games when the Bills play the Chiefs, and it will be another good one, I'm sure, on Sunday at Arrowhead Stadium. Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, will be behind the mic. He joins us Thursdays here on 580 Sports Talk, thanks to Hy-Vee and Zurich Credit Union. Mitch, so glad you're feeling better. Can't wait to hear you behind the mic on Sunday when the Chiefs take on the Bills. Thanks for your time.
We'll bring it, and I love the way you guys challenge me because I've got to learn to just keep one arrow in the quiver for all of these nuggets. Because some of these this week are like you never see them ever, and you're like, "Wow, that's another one. That's another one." But yeah, way to challenge me. I love it.
Thanks again, Mitch, for your time. We appreciate you.
Right. See you guys. Yep.
That is Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. Before we take a break, want to remind you that the most cheerful event of the year returns for another season, bigger and brighter than ever. Zoo Lights, presented by Evergy at the Topeka Zoo, is a treasured, twinkling Topeka tradition. Create memories and traditions at Zoo Lights. Tickets on sale now at topekazoo.org. The final word is next here on 580 Sports Talk. Final word is going to be a quick one from me today. There's a lot of negative feelings and negative emotions surrounding Nae'Qwan Tomlin's dismissal from the K-State men's basketball team. But Jerome Tang would request that we spread love. So I'm going to spread some love to Nae'Qwan Tomlin and say, hey, you're graduating from college this weekend, man. Congratulations. That's a big, big deal. that'll take you further places than a basketball ever will. And to be the first in your family to graduate college is a big, big deal. So congratulations to Nae'Qwan Tomlin. I hope that the K-State family will join me and others in expressing gratitude to Nae'Qwan for what he gave the basketball team last year and excitement for his graduation from college, because that is an awesome thing. We're back tomorrow from 2 to 6. Just Brendan and I, though. For Jake and Brendan, I'm Dan. This was 580 Sports Talk.